Hello, folks, and welcome to the Celestial Cup. It's the Soul League Split 1 Grand Finals, where we've got a $1,700 prize pool to dole out by the end of today. Myself, Relic, joined by the enigma that is Zephyr Casts. And Zephyr, great to have you back. Your first time here since last week, I guess, when you were stepping in. Of course, you had the qualifiers as well to enjoy. You've kind of had the most action here throughout this split, but now we're at the finals. It's game day, it's crunch time, and there are a couple of favorites heading into today as well.
Absolutely. I think you set it up well. I've had a lovely opportunity to check out just about everyone here that has competed or has wanted to compete in the Soul League as a whole. So get the perfect kind of, we'll say, synopsis of
Mm.
some of these squads. As of course, this is where it all counts here. But obviously, as you've made mention of, there are those that stand above the rest. So before we jump into game, let's start talking about a few of them.
I see you, chat, by the way. I am free, don't worry, as is Zephyr. But free shooting, free scoring
What?
appears to be. I know, crazy scenes, right? But here we go. JSA, right? Let's start off with them, shall we? Because I'm so happy with them. I'm so happy. JSA, right? Just a dominating force. Week one, kill, 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 kill. Picked up a couple of wins. Runaway winners in the end, despite being pulled back throughout the mid part of that series. Week number two, little more difficult, but once again, getting into the groove and finding so much joy across both maps.
Janie Sabs and Avali, easily the most dominating squad to come through the Celestial Cup here. And we have high expectations regarding their performance going into finals. And obviously, I mean, the success has to come from somewhere, and it's due to the practice that exists behind these three ladies. They're definitely one of the oldest rosters that has competed together through a series of events kind of over the years here. So they definitely have that kind of leg up against the rest of the competition when we start kind of picking them out one by one.
And how about Flower Power? How about
Ooh.
LNW? We're looking at those as sort of maybe the underdogs going into today. We would like to say the same of Mochi as well, but they in particular seem to have struggled as the weeks have come at them.
Yeah, a bit of handfuls of performance here. Mochi obviously having some great starts here, but Flower Power, LNW, and even VLL starting to show up on the back end. But as you guys can tell, we're about ready to get underway here. Game one on World's Edge.
If you are new here, we've got to basically throw you the rules and just say, hey, we got you, fam. ALGS scoring system, it's what you see there. 12 points if you win, 1 point if you manage to get into the scoring or into the scoring placements, I should say. It is, of course, also 1 point per kill. It's as simple as that. We tot everything up at the end of our 6 games. And there you have your winner going home with the lion's share of the $1,700. We have 3 here on World Edge games. We have 3 there on Storm Point games. And a pretty even spread across the first map as we have all 20 teams. Lovely to see everybody joining in with a slight concentration, dare I say it, towards Countdown and Skyhook.
Yeah, Countdown, Skyhook having easily 2 squads in proximity, but that's not super crazy to me. What I actually look towards is over here by Overlook. 2 squads have opted to go for the drop here. Mommies, as well as what I believe is Kino's Kittens, starting to set up, and this is quite a contest, especially for the early game on a POI like this.
Pretty high tier loot straight out for these guys, but they find themselves in a bit of a tricky situation. Doesn't look like their shield utility is at the maximum. Of course, they do have that Gibraltar shielding to help them nonetheless, and they do have the positional advantage when it comes to moving in towards that first ring, which right on the other side of the map, as things currently stand, it might tend to fade them later on, but it is indeed Kino's Kittens here with some decent positioning themselves. They've got themselves locked in down there with the caustic. A couple of toxic barrels awaiting. They have plenty of time to wait this one out.
And even if they don't get the opportunity to set up, they do have a rotation to the back of Overlook. But it looks like the Mommies have begun their push here. First drop found there onto the namesake Kino herself there. Jico quickly following suit as now one last standing member resides. The Caustic on the second floor.
And that's got to be the most difficult one to try and break the door, and you've got to communicate well. You've possibly got to go in at every single angle possible. They are going to eventually run out of cooldown on the barrels, and there it is. They're the first squad eliminated. Brutal in the end, and Kino's Kitties, we bid adieu. Ooh.
A bit of a rough start there for Keno's Kittens. They, as well, in week 2, had to compete through a series of trials and tribulations. They were on, of course, some of their final matches here. But as we tune in back down towards Lava City, looks like the action continues forward. A drop found. Winx drop. Chalice from the Sirens roster. Picking that one up and now looking for more.
Sirens, of course, one of these squads which seems to have one great game every week. Some great damage, a shield knock there. But unfortunately, that one great game, it does enough to place them within the top 15. And then there is little else to really shout about. Another attempted shield knock. Not going to try to do it this time. As actually Cheney is on around the door. Nice placement. The Toxic Barrels as well, really doing a lot of chip damage. All 3 members, their shields knocked. Chalice down. Banner is available for pickup, but I don't know whether Angie and Ashki are going to be in a position to do this immediately, especially with their opposition squad looking so healthy.
I was going to say, they just got the shield swap off there, off of the kill onto Chalice, so it's no longer as readily accessible to go for the wipe, especially when you're starting to make noise like this. Looks like we do have Loch Nessies eliminated in that kill feed down to 18th. Sirens here just starting to cling on as now that zone is starting to tick. The pressure of the damage, though, does give them the opportunity to wrap back around, grab Chalice's advantage.
And you notice there that Chalice has got the ultimate down on Winx, actually, and so we're starting to see that ring, although it's a little bit of chip damage, it does have an effect. We saw there Ashki as well, very low on health, thankfully had the health utility to be able to get out of it. It looks like they were going up against Control Freaks. And here we got Jazzy, and it's not exactly a great scenario for them either. Are they still searching for the kills, or are they just looking for the banners? Presumably both, maybe keeping an eye out for exactly that moment. Yeah, I mean, you've got to get out of there.
At this point, it's a chase to ensue here. Pressure from the other side. Looks like they were caught out on what was their initial rotation, and now left up just to one from behind. It's Team Mochi that finally wraps around the backside of Lava City and takes out the majority there of Control Freaks.
So Mochi, of course, picking up the spoils of battle, as I do believe the other squadron has rotated out. To be fair as well, I like that from Mochi. They very clearly had tabs on it, because there's not really much else to do in Lava City apart from keep tabs on everyone. We move over now to JSA, of course, our favorite, more likely going into this one. And already an early down, already a second down. Janie, you're absolutely cracked. I think there's number 3 eventually. KBM met Janie, the tour de force, and, well, they now have a story to tell.
I'm pretty sure, by the way, that this is the starting of a multitude of squads that have now fallen in the Climatizer POI here. We're coming off the back end of a very tail fight, and I believe JSA picked up more than just the 3 KP that you see there. So an excellent start to the JSA roster already right out of the gates in our game 1. Over here by Landslide, though, guess who in a bit of a setup? This high ground could be especially advantageous, but not when you're getting picked like that. Missing Zodia here from the Flower Power roster, putting damage down where it counts.
Listen, I know that the high ground is certainly something advantageous, but when you've got an opposition team with great accuracy, if you're poking your head out a little too much, you are going to have an assault to deal with, such as this. Guess who? They had the advantage, and they had the advantage positional-wise, but they did not have the advantage when it came to the execution of utilizing that position.
A bit of an issue there. Caught out, didn't pay enough of a respect, especially back towards that crane area. And we know for a fact that, especially if you're going to set up on a high ground like this, you need to have some level of defensive capabilities if you want to continue to survive here. Back towards Survey Camp, Team Arc has begun to set up and as well take advantage of some of the crafting that does lay before them. Have to wonder where JSA might be in their own rotation. We just saw them coming off the backside of Climatizer, so might be something sometime soon. Nice Girls looks like they're in a bit of excursion themselves.
Heading back to Arc, of course. Now, Arc, one of these teams that's really middle of the road, right? They've never had that much luck when it comes to top 5. They do have themselves a good position here, though. Some nice picks there. No shield knock from the G7. The Bloodhound as well, of course, so useful
there it is.
for those mid-range engages. And it is JSA who they're going to be taking down. Janie really just taking a face full of bullets there. The shield knock, able to get the shield switch out, though, onto Blue from Purple. Is going to basically help them in the short run, but we do have a third party here coming from the upper tunnel.
teams looking to defend or take some spoils here before that zone closes in, and all these squads back up against the wall are enforced on that rotation. But as you made mention of it, it allows JSA to get the opportunity to find a bit of a soft reset. From behind, though, back towards the upper angle of Survey Camp, they've got another angle they have to worry about, contest against, and as a result, you can see the entirety of the JSA team starting to make their way back a little bit outside of this POI so they can regroup and reassess.
It's an excellent point because they were really spread out there, and if there is anything, when you're looking at 101 basics of Apex Legends, you really do not want to be spread apart, at least not once we get into this mid-game stage. JSA, though, on the wolf hunt once again. They're howling, they're looking for blood, but unfortunately, the blood is only spilled from Avali. They're the shield not, and they are going to get the KO here on My Little Pony. My Little Pony. I don't know the rest of the song, unfortunately, so I can't recite it for you, but either way, that is a pretty easy one. They're rotating around the house now. Lovely hits here from the PK. Rotating out just to give Avali another shot of the pie.
They have to be extremely careful. You can see this, Janie still extending a lot of the pressure and control off back towards that train line opening because, of course, we talked about it. There is another squad that could fly in at any good moment. Try to third party this one out. A little bit more damage will do this one in. Janie finally finding the knock and the removal of the Mobile AIM squad there. Very clean take at that. Didn't go for the full pressure, didn't find any kind of knocks, and as a result here, more than healthy, even with shots raining through from the other side from Flower Power, they still last.
Kill leader, and unsurprisingly so, I would say, Jamie, as we look for a relocation here through the Valkyrie ultimate. Flower Power got a couple of wins themselves over the first 2 weeks. They are definitely one of these squads to keep an eye on as we head towards the midpoint of this series, certainly, although they were looking to beat JSA to that first win of the day. Just relocating out to the western, or the northwestern side, I should say, of Fracture. Of course, we used to know it as the city. I know that was a point of contention for Ash. We'd love to know it as the city, but it is Fracture now. Look, it's split down the middle. It makes a lot of sense going for the engage. The frag grenade out, got a thermite to boot as well, but just returning and keeping an eye on the potential for JSA to move in round and try and third party what Cloud Power was essentially trying to do to them.
Meanwhile, on the interior here of the Chokes, back towards that kind of landslide area, you can see Team Nice Girls playing a very similar gatekeeping role, whereas Flower Power just rests above them towards the north. They still have to contest against what may be a few of these squads that are lurking here right around the edge of the cliffside. Nice Girls has to choose their battles very, very carefully. If they go for the full send down this hill, and it isn't exactly the most clean excursion, they can find their way out here very shortly.
They have to choose their timing really carefully, though. It's not exactly a great amount of loot, and so they are going to relocate back up, knowing that A squad, of course, they don't know which squad it is, but they know that A squad is sitting there and ready to be put into that chokehold. We can see that we are going to be eventually going south of the epicenter into Fragment itself for that final circle, and a lot of the squads have already congregated there, but for Nice Girls, they have an opportunity to work their position nicely, to at least try and catch out one squad. But like you said earlier as well, Zephyr, it's such a nasty position to be in here, because really the chance to get flanked yourself is as high as the chance to flank someone else.
And you can see Flower Power making good on those words, starting their own aggressive assault here onto Nice Girls. You can see Giggle Autumn on the backside. She's looking for an alternative angle. Singularity down to exude some pressure here. Cracks found. Only a single tick will do that one in. Princess, the quick tactical scan there. Doesn't quite land those micro drones, but there is a habitat down. This is going to push Flower Power back, especially when we start counting the seconds available. Miss Dopey, though, very quickly finding where that habitat resides and knocking it out with the G7 Scouts, taking this high ground back, and Flower Power back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, Nice Girls could sit pretty, but Flower Power, they had to make the move now. Moving up with Giggle Autumn as well. Beautiful thermite damage. Of course, Miss Dopey setting back whilst her two teammates moving up with the better shield advantage. They know that now they hold the advantageous ground. They hold the entrance to Fragment, and they've got really the team in a great stranglehold. Oh, that's some good damage, but Miss Dopey has to get out of dodge. Doesn't get out of dodge quick enough. Flower Power down to one. A great reversal if they can make it happen, but no! Flower Power, they did so well to play that scenario, but Nice Girls simply with a better utility.
Nice goes. I mean, this is just simply the micro game at this point. Even though they're on the low ground there, they very successfully find the fight. But I'll tell you what, it won't last for long. UTFT has now made their way in, and I can smell the remnants, the gunpowder in the air that resides from this last fight. Pretty Bond Girl has worked her way into the tunnel, but with this round 3 closing, I mean, we both know this zone is punishing, and elimination is guaranteed.
It was a nice idea, but unfortunately, the idea was ultimately leading into a dead end, and UTFT then, that final squad to come in and put the dagger into the heart of the nice girls. It's UTFT moving up, of course, with this singularity. Nice relocation here, a nice placement overall entering Flagman. I don't think it really could have gotten much better as we move over to Lust, one of the better placing teams in Week 2, really struggled in Week 1. Their form is on the up and up.
Contact with enemy.
We'll talk about the zone here for just a moment. This is going to be a little bit more of the rarer pull regarding the fragment area off towards the eastern side. The difference from this pull than the one you might be used to towards the west is the fact that there's so much more spacing available for these squads to reside in individual buildings here. And we've had a lot of teams already fall here pre-zone 4, so there's a plethora of opportunities for any one of these ladies to find a house to call a home here. But I'll tell you what, once we start getting that round 5 pull, it's going to be absolutely suffocating as these teams are choked out from the rotation, potentially from the edge, or at least somewhere else.
Scarlet's Envy's down already, and you can see Renee forced inside the house. 5 not looking too much better for her either. They go down as well. Lust, we were saying, is looking so good for them on the up and up. They've made top 10 again. Oh, for my word, they've run into JSA at the worst time. It's not Halloween yet, ladies. Save us the jump scares, please.
JSA on the other side of that building, Xing the door, and they're taking the time to heal. They catch the very, very last member here of the Lust roster. Now, there does exist the one just across Yuli's in this building ahead. JSA have a position to play for now, and of course, with the next zone closing. But we both know JSA, I mean, they take no prisoners, and they're obviously looking potentially for more. But hey, I'll say this, they might slow down. Start off the day with a win is a great start, especially if you're looking to push yourself towards the top and accrue the majority of your points. That will keep you consistent and give you the lion's share of that prize pool.
They are the team with the most top 5s in the Soul League for Split 1 going into today. And so really, this is a team that knows that they don't have to win every single time. It is about hitting that consistency trail time and time again. Sure, yeah, if you get the win, that's excellent. That's an extra 3 points in the bag when you're just considering placement points on top of the kill points, which you're likely getting a lot of kill points already. But even when they haven't been first or second or third, we've seen them picking up 10+ kills time and time again. So they know that they have the opportunity now to slow down, to keep things neat, to just play for the placement actually and pick up those early points. You never know what the difference will ultimately be by the end of game 6.
This next zone going to be absolutely detrimental. It removes a lot of the playable area that these teams have been surviving through. Currently, only 2 existing within the realm of its capacity. It's extremely open. You have only a bit of the few exposures. Everyone else is going to be forced to rotate. And you can already see the action starting here with Mochi, a squad just below them. See if they might carry themselves out for the upper ends here towards these Valkyries. A much safer rotation than below.
And it's nice to see Mochi back in the top 10. I do hope to see some upgrading in the form. Mummies, certainly some upgrading in the form, but also some downgrading on the shielding and the health situation. Not looking too healthy. Singularity comes out. Yet to find out. Oh, of course it is. Of course it's JSA that's going in for the engage. They are looking for no mercy. But that said, some
Ava.
nice shots on Ava. Janie looking good. Sabzo, not so good. They're down. And JSA, we were asking, maybe they're going to be a little bit slower here. Maybe they're just going to take things and take the placement points. Well, no, they are going on the aggressive once again.
Still, it is 2 successful knocks here for JSA. One more will do the Mommy's roster in, and very quickly they hear out some of the pings coming through from Sabs, and they make short work of the little flesh that remains there. As a result, now a quick reset, 3 death boxes to work with, but only 15 seconds to go before this wide sweeping pull that they'll have to work with. Mochi, who we were just looking at, looks like they were not successful on the outside, but UFT is more than happy to pick up those KP.
Yeah, shame for Mochi, but at least it is a top 10 placement, a solid, unspectacular way to start the day. Of course, we've yet to check out the full kill totals as well, and so maybe
They get Julie?
maybe
Oh, is that it?
that might be it.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. Didn't have the time to pull back and get the revive off on the third here. UTFT forced to play as two going into round 6 and forced to make the Lions run here into the interior of the train line. Just barely does Liz find safety, but not before eventually the knock still comes through there from Lightyear up to Ophelia. Survive for now. There's still no safe place.
That could not be any more true here, of course, because it is really the last piece of major cover that you're looking at this train station. For Lupelia, despite a really bad situation there, finds themselves in probably the best position. They've got themselves a chokehold. They can look through the door. They've got some close quarters weaponry, but it's a question of how long can they survive rather than can they win the game at this point. And really, we can't look any further, I don't feel, when it comes to the potential win of that. And JSA, everything falling into their laps beautifully. Of course, they are playing the game beautifully themselves, but this is really what JSA is all about, overlooking everything. Sirens gone. Good to get them in the top 10. They've certainly struggled most games over weeks 1 and 2, but we're down to the top 6 and JSA looking on form.
The big question here is, depending on how the ring comes through, is there going to be enough cover on the opposite angle here across from JSA that we have a team allowed to survive until JSA is forced to drop? I don't think there's going to be enough time in, or JSA might just have the perfect opportunity for that final kind of winded knock in that moment. You can see a team looking to aggress here. Arc eliminated. EOS makes the rotation out from the edge of zone, but not before they do face knocks here. Nothing down as well. Oh, the full wipe onto Odd there. Jamie.
That's a struggle bug if ever I've seen one, and unfortunately you got to ask, maybe should have stayed behind that truck cover for a little bit longer just to get the revive off. They may have had a choice there and then, but they had to make it there and then rather than wait it out. You know, I'd rather go in with 3 than 2, but I don't think this result is going to be the same either way. I don't think that 3 or 2 players would have made any difference in the end. EOS eliminated, we're down to the top 3.
JSA more than happy to exude the pressure from the high ground, and now going to be playing off the very little bit of the train line that gives them high. UTFT as a single member quickly eliminated. Now 2 remain from below. JSA counting seconds here before their drop. You can see Sab trying to take angles here. Janie on the outside already providing damage down. Singularity gives them hold, pushes them back into the zone. A knock to follow, and JSA, your first victors here of the day.
You gotta love, you can almost hear the Superman theme as rising out from the staircase was the final member of UTFT to no avail. And really, that is as ominous a marker laid down as we have seen from any team in the Celestial Cup.
Oh,
a
God.
monstrous 24 KOs on that scoreboard, already inflating their maximum 12 placement points. They lead the rest of the field by a factor of 3. How about that?
I choose to believe that JSA hasn't been playing these last few weeks. We haven't been seeing JSA. JSA only showed up today in the finals, and they are making statements here already in game 1. In terms of a statistical point average, a majority of these rosters will fare far and be between to even find and close the gap that now exists. LNW, UTFT, still now a 24-point leap to surpass what JSA has put out there. As long as they continue to maintain performance, maybe even find another game like that, I mean, we might already be looking at our victors here today.
we did see, I don't think it was as extreme a scenario in week number 1, but we did see a very similar scenario where JSA broke away from the pack and they did actually get overtaken points wise across games 3 and 4. But then the old JSA returned and it all came back to naught. So, look, is it JSA's world? Are we all just living in it? Well, these are the questions that we're going to answer later today. We've got 5 more games left to go. Game 2 on World's Edge coming up after this. Hello, lovely audience, and welcome back to the Soul League Split 1 finals here on the Celestial Cup. By the way, be sure to follow all the socials at Celestial Cup on Twitch, or no, on Twitter, I should say. Celes Cup here on Twitch. But of course, you're here already. If you're not following, why not? We just had a fantastic game number 1 and a fantastic performance, I should say, from JSA. Because
let them stew, okay? So they still have to incorporate an entire series into their belt before they can make a decision like that, okay? It's just been one game. It's just been one.
We've got to keep some hope for the rest of the teams, of course, because it was quite a steamroll. Relic and Zephyr, by the way, our names are down there, and I think that the ats are down there as well for Twitter. So feel free to follow us over there as well as we follow the journey of all of these wonderful women Apex players to game number 2 on World's Edge. And really, if there has ever been a target on the back analogy to utilize, now is the time, Zephyr, because if you want to eliminate one team early game, make sure that they do not have a say heading into the final 5. That team would be JSA.
Now, I'd be hasty to agree with you here. We saw at the start of game 1 what was a double squad takedown in Climatizer by JSA, them putting in the majority of the work there to eliminate a full 6 So I mean, Target might be on the back. I mean, they might sit above the rest at the end of the shooting range here, but they are more than equipped to handle the pressure.
Yeah, a pressure which I do feel like we saw was handled quite well by the likes of UTFT, for example, who were quite unfortunate, I think, coming off an engage, losing one, getting shield and most of the health knocked off a second
Yeah.
before the ring ultimately lay in place, and then they're down to just one player, which that one player was able to survive until top three. But really, the problem wasn't so much the placement for these squads; it was just the sheer amount of kills that JSA were
Right.
racking up. 24 in total. I mean, that's ridiculous.
They were coming into a same level of good positioning, something to work with in some of these file zones, but they just weren't accruing the same level of aggression across the rest of the match. So for teams like LNW, UTFT, or EOS who sit there somewhere around 11 to 12 points, they kind of have to put pedal to the metal here if they want to start catching up. We're about to make our way into game two here, but I believe gotten a bit of a message from production. Can be doing a short reset on the admin side of things, so we'll be with it shortly.
Yeah, and so really, it gives us a nice opportunity to talk about, well, how do you counter this? Is it just a case of fighting fire with fire? Do you have to be a little bit more tactical about it? Do you have to consider what you're going to do, what sort of loadouts you're going to be taking? Do you have to be picky and choosy? Give me your thoughts on that, because really, what we've seen take down JSA in the past is that flash in the pan engage catches them as off guard
Yes.
as JSA can be.
I mean, the game's current meta is situated completely around this absurd level of aggression. And if you have the micro skill to back it, I mean, you are more than dominant in terms of an advantage going into any series here. But with that also comes the risks. If teams start assessing, of course, things like the rotation of a squad like JSA, they can be much more aptly prepared for when they need to kind of pull that trigger. I mean, if I, Zephyr, know that JSA drops Climatizer, and then I see some shots kind of ring out, a team crafting at Survey Camp, you should also know, or whomever might be there, that that rotation is potentially imminent, especially with your analysis of this next zone or whatever may be, right? Teams as a whole need to start doing that and start looking for opportunities, especially if we're talking about capitalizing on just one squad alone. But oftentimes, I mean, that can be subtly at the sacrifice of yourself.
Yeah, there is an old saying, Zephyr, and it goes a little bit like this: the line between brave and stupid is often very thin and very blurred. And I think that very much no, you are very intelligent, and a gentleman and a scholar. And I will not be
All
swayed on
right.
this opinion either way. Whether chat chooses to agree with me or
What
not,
the
yeah,
heck?
that's for them to
All right. All
decide.
right.
But
All right. Make points.
but like basically it's in agreement with you. I feel as if you've got to be picky in the sense of you've got to be quick on the analysis front. You've got to look at whether you can take advantage of a situation. If we're talking about just a one-on-one squad fight, then maybe it's better to save yourself until a later engage. But really it's placing yourself in the position of third party where you're going to get a lot of joy against these teams that find themselves in good form at the top of the table, trying to recover their shielding, recover their health. They still have the opportunity and the ability, of course, to very much like a boxer up against the ropes, push themselves out because they are just that good. But it's about playing your odds rather than playing the numbers game.
Mm. And I'll say this, at the end of the day, a team like JSA is susceptible to any kind of, well, that flash in the pan that you talk about. So, say you're UTFT, you understand that at any moment, this volatile squad that usually exudes these massive wins could potentially face defeat. Then stick to your guns. Stay around that level of consistency that's going to net you maybe not quite those 36-point games as JSA, but still the 12 to 18 that will stack up as we start making our way through or I guess the rest of these 5 games left. I mean, you said it earlier, right? JSA has had massive starts before. Maybe not one quite like this, but definitely to a level that we've seen other teams come back, surpass, and at least have a fighting chance in terms of taking away that first place position.
I'm going to plunge into my inner brain. If memory serves me correctly from 2 weeks ago, it was 12 kills in that game number 1 for JSA, who went on to win or come second. I believe it was a win in that first game in week number 1. And so we're already talking about double that. And actually, while we're on the topic of kills, it might be worth actually just getting into the prize pool and how this is divvied up, because it's not just about placement, it's about MVP as well. And so here's the simple info for you guys. First goes away with $540. Second goes away with $420. Third with $300. Fourth with $240. And fifth with $180. We also have an MVP award, which thankfully I think is not going to be chosen by us two, because there's probably going to be too many great players to talk about.
Yes.
Instead, it is going to be on the much more factual kills per player scoreline. And so as you can see, I was imagining Janie was going to be top. Actually, it's Sabs who comes away from game number 1 as kill leader. Avalui not too far behind, though. 9, 8, and 7. The closest to that is Odd on 3, along with Liz. So, look, maybe it is always destined to be in one of JSA's hands. But look, as you say, there's 5 more games to go. And so, really, that prize pool money, it's still up in the air.
Oh my gosh. That is just absurd. We finally get to see the overall team statistics here. We obviously know that JSA walk away from that game with 24 kills, but look at the oppressive nature of their damage, especially in comparison to what was EOS, a team that was on the opposite side of the train line there, sit out kind of in the open, who might have had the ability to kind of pick up some frenzied damage here or there, just poking any of the squads making their way in from the edge. They're still halfway to the 7,000 that JSA accumulated in that game 1. And I don't think, really, I mean, genuinely, I don't think people understand 7,000. I mean, on average, we're talking about 150 to 200 health. I mean, that's about, we'll say 5 to 6 per 1,000. That's upwards of doing the damage worth of 30 to 35 players across the entirety of your game, even more, upwards of the damage equivalent to 40 players. Not quite the kills to follow suit with that, but the pressure to punish, to soak resources, to allow a team like JSA to get into those god spots, to get into the perfect position that allows them to walk away with the win. That is just crazy.
I was going to say, like, a good day at the office, I think per player is maybe 1,000 to 1,500 damage a piece. And so simple maths tells you that that's going to accrue to maybe 4,500 maximum on a great day, on a day where you really should be winning on that map. And then to walk away with 7,000, I mean, it's a ridiculous total. And actually, another bit of interesting viewing, actually, you might see not in the top 10 of team kills, but in the top 10 of damage there, Arc, of course. And so it's not just, as you say, about the kills that you are getting here. It's about the actual shots that you're placing, that you're getting on target, the shields that you're knocking, the health that you are whittling down. It just goes to show that JSA, even when they're not getting the kills, and of course they got a lot of kills, but even when they're not getting the kills, they're landing those shots so beautifully.
Yeah, let's try to stem away from the beast that is JSA for now. I know it's incredibly hard, right? I mean, we're coming off of probably one of the most absurd games that anyone has ever seen in Apex Legends. To see a 36-point start is something I promise you likely won't ever see again in at least your time watching comp or mine across the entirety on that spectrum. But we can discuss, of course, teams like LNW, UTFT, EOS, who, while we didn't get the option to see them in their highlights, they still were there in the end.
Yeah, and there's plenty of potential to work with as we head into game number 2. I mean, look, ultimately, a lot of these teams found themselves with one less member going into the top 5, or in a disadvantageous position with that final circle, which, as you rightly mentioned, is one of the rarer locations to deal with there. I feel like it's a very unique location as well. Yes. You get on top of that train station once you're heading into the final circle, and hey, guess what? You've got the advantage over every single other team in that roster. So, game number 2. Heading into it's World's Edge again. We apologize for the delay, but here we are finally. Seems like we've got a little bit more of a bit of a cluster here on Fragment. So again, nice clusters there towards Bloodhound Trials, looking towards Lava Fissure as well. The southwest of the map, though, really actually quite vacant. And so for those teams down there, a bit of respite as once again the circle looks to be heading in towards Fragment, maybe Lava Siphon, maybe Geyser.
Well, we'll talk about in a moment here. Obviously, I look towards Overlook to start the game once again. Mommies versus Kino's Kittens. That was the exchange we saw at the start of game 1 here that at least defined some of the initial fighting. It looks like we are seeing some drops there in the kill feed across what might be a different POI for now, but I'm sure something exciting, some fireworks may break out here in just a moment.
One thing that Mommies do not have, which they did have in their advantage last time out, was the illustrious Golden Shield. But it looks like they are going on the aggression once again through that Horizon utility. It's basically a repeat scenario of our first couple of minutes, except this time you have the Kino Kittens a lot further back, and they are a lot more holed up here in this most outer of domed buildings. And really, yes, they've got the defensive advantage, you've got the walls, but they gotta come out of here at some point.
I'm curious to see, yeah, the dome on the backside there. They might be able to play through the low ground and find some kind of pressure out there. But I think this squad is more than happy to kind of turtle and set themselves up just to last, especially knowing the fact that this round 1 ring close sets itself right on top of them, right? And so for Kino's Kittens, they don't have any kind of glaring desire to move as of yet. And I mean, Mommies, who wants to find themselves into a better point position, should more opt to look out for potentially position going forward into a nice spot macro-wise or something else, especially if Kino's puts up level pressure. But oh, Arcstar stuck through the back end there of Blastbound, but no, into the void our Wraith goes. As a result, doesn't quite land that ordnance, and Mommies instead now taking damage of their own there. Lina extremely low, broken almost in completion.
Good news, if you're a Kittens fan, you're not the first team out. That unfortunate reward goes to Mobile Aim, who drop early doors. The Kittens doing really well just to survive this encounter, and that turtling up, it's a perfect word to use. They've got that Caustic as well, perfect for these defensive style of encounters. VSK drop as well, and really for the Kittens, they're not in a great position, but what they are doing is surviving other teams. They are going to be able to survive past this initial ring, and the Mummies are kind of like the big bad wolves at the moment. They're huffing and they're puffing, but they cannot blow the house down.
At this point, I mean, it should be a ladies' agreement, right? I mean, you need to survive. You need to put yourself in a better position. But it looks like with a drop like that, I mean, it might not have to be just anything. But those shots aren't coming through there from that building. That came from the other side of Overlook. It looks like another squad arrived here, maybe potentially hearing the noise or remembering some of the early fighting that took place. And yes, came through. It's UTFT looking to take advantage of a little bit of the aggression that we saw last time around, and potentially more, it looks like.
Yeah, well, what Kino Kittens have done is they've taken advantage of this scenario to rotate out of that dead end. And is it a different team, perhaps?
I don't know. I don't think the time has alluded that that might be a separate squad as well. The zone is pulling hard east right now, so there's a perfect opportunity for these squads to make their way to an over. It is a definite playable area for UTFT. They've done the same, and now looking to capitalize on this squad on the interior of the second floor. They're not quite cracked. Those ordnance pushing back there. Julie Lax forced all the ways away. Fair bit of flesh found, but not quite the knock necessary there from UTFT.
It's not a clean encounter either. They've been forced back for now, at least. Another shield broken. We still have yet to really find out on which squad this is, if it is indeed the Kittens or whether it is a fourth party that entered the fray or was perhaps just keeping watch while we saw the relocation from the Mummies. It's good shots here on Liz, who's forced to pop another shield battery. Got plenty in tow, however, so they are well stocked for this fight.
Our observers coming in clutch here to provide the information that we don't have. Yes, it is 3 separate individual squads there. Kino's Kittens still set up well and inside the initial dome building there, as well as, of course, one more little bit of a visual clarity. Doesn't allow me the opportunity to see the exact names, but we know for a fact that there are now 9 players in this match of chess, and actually no longer 9. Rollers GFs, they say. The heat is too hot. The air is filled with sound, and we're on our way out.
Not so much skate skate as fly fly. And Kino's kittens, meanwhile, well, they've almost like just been peering through the window, like, oh, is
I'm
everyone
more
gone
than
yet?
happy. I'm more than happy to start looking at other parts of the map at this point. I feel like with Kino's Kittens, with something like this Caustic, we're going to be here all day.
Oh!
So we tune in once again with the Mommies, who tried to work their way back towards the geyser area, stuck on the interior of the cave here. Angel side, the last one left standing on the upper high ground here, and sadly, quickly eliminated by the pressure from the Loch Nessies.
Yeah, that's out of the again. I mean, a lot of kitchen utensils I feel used today, but it is very much out of the frying pan and into the fire, and especially when you lose. I mean, they literally just left Liz for dead. A nice shield break here as we are on board with the Sirens, who themselves are down a player, looking in towards the geysers. That is a lot of things happening on the screen, but eventually through the smoke, we are able to see the engage, and that's a really nice angle as well. Lovely knock there from Jasmine. And Winks, are they going to be able to finish off the squads? Well, the final of that squad gets away for now, and they are going to have to leg it and just hope, yeah, the chase is not on. So the squad survives for now, Sirens, but they have some time, actually, to recover the banner, but it's a question of picking your moment because, well, who knows when they're going to be back.
Sirens here were the ones to initially push on that one, lost one, try to get a response, and now we turn into a very similar situation. A choke on the other end. LNW catching the tail side of what is their elimination here. Our second place team overall taken down by Mochi. Looks like it wasn't exactly the cleanest fight, but still a successful one at that.
Well, that was LNW rotating out of that battle with Sirens, of course, and so Mochi effectively a late joining third party, and it wasn't that clean, sure, but they also have the picks. Then again, if you're LNW, you've got to be disappointed not even making top 15. They are going to have to hope that they get some kills from that previous engage. Otherwise, that is a big fat nil point coming from game number 2. Not what we were expecting.
Nice girls here, set up on the interior of Harvester. We saw them pressure blast come around when they had a bit of a slow rotation back towards the edge, but they still will attempt to do so, trying to play for some of that KP. This squad on the other receiving end has forced their way onto the interior, the dead heart of Harvester for now. Singularity, not quite efficient there.
I noticed Janie, she's at it again, and it looks like they're engaging UTFT. It's currently still with the Nice Girls, of course, so they're looking to rotate round. That's her name, and that's also the sound that I'd be making if I was in this situation. Able to get inside, able to get the shield battery off. They're going to rotate fully out of there, and they're going to play Flower Power with a lot of shields there to utilize. The laser beam coming out of nowhere. The down of Christina Who. Flower Power still going on for the chase. The frag grenade, they're just waiting for it. They're going to throw it now, and I feel like they have literally chased the Nice Girls out of the building. Got a pick to boot as well.
Well, for Flower Power, that's not a team you want to work into in terms of a 3v3. If I could pick any other squad just as advantageous in terms of damage, it would definitely be them. JSA past the tail end of their excursion against the Kino's Kittens, who are on their slow rotation out from Overlook. They've knocked 2 already. Now they look for potentially one more. Ava, can she sniff them out? Oh, just on the back end of the rock.
Yeah, there is another squad entering the situation here, though. We've got a Bloodhound on the opposition side, and JSA, it's not exactly a terrible situation to be in, but they're obviously coming straight off the fight. They're going to rotate around this opposition squad onto that tower. That is some nice placement here from Sabs. Of course, using that G7 Scout to its greatest ability, a shield break, but it's a long distance engage, and they're going to want to pop some shield cells and indeed some health packs to at least be at their best when the secondary engage comes through.
Still, this is a position that you need to retain, especially when we start talking about the zone as a whole. This one, a bit of a mix, especially towards the open-ended areas outside of Fragment. Playing towards the eastern side, these hills can give you that little bit of height disparity that can prove that at least a victorious spot when we start talking about Zone 6 and those final closes. Back towards Fragment, though, Rollers GF still haven't made their way inside. Wraith does pick up the last bitty edge of a scan here. One remaining member around the other angle. Very quickly wraps around the door and woo! Just quickly finds the damage necessary to eliminate KBM.
Killed, beat him. That's very much the vibe for KBM as they drop before the top 10 team. Nothing as well. Also dropping as Mochi. They're down Samurai Sky, but this should surely be another down. And you can see all the opposition squad there. Kayla almost caught out of position. Was caught out of position. The shield not forced back further into the mountainside. As you can see there, Toucan as well there on the eastern side of this descent. Forced back themselves. This is great coverage from this opposition squad, whoever they are, looking to try and rescue that third teammate. Meanwhile, Samurai Sky, I don't know where their actual beacon is, but I'm imagining it might be in the ring at this stage. Toucan with so little health came out of nowhere, and that's because there's a third party coming in from behind them. Mochi caught between a rock and a hard place. The rock and the hard place bit hard, and it's UTFT rotating out from a JSA encounter to make their names known.
Ms. Dopey here, the other one to provide damage, I believe. That's our Flower Power roster out there on the low ground, coming in a bit of a late rotation from the Harvester fight that we saw earlier on. UTFT now knowing that they've been pressured back into the zone, want to take advantage of that extra damage being provided from the environmental hazard here. Forced into the building, they just need to get one clean line of sight. The first drop down there onto Princess. One more will do this squad in. Lord, no quite a break, but Julie Lax on the other side to find the elimination for Flower Power.
Beautifully played from UTFT. They knew that they had them on the ropes. They knew that any rotation through the ring was going to be a lengthy journey and would eventually end in a place where there was no cover to utilize. And so they played that really well, got the kills, made the engage matter. And ultimately, that's some great extra points on the board because JSA, we're with them now. They still haven't dropped. They made it to the top 10 again. Clearly got some kill points additionally as well. So they're going to be hoping that another team takes them out at some point en route to the 6th ring.
Once again, this is the dominant position to be in for now. I'm curious to see if JSA will clear out their backside anytime soon to be the sole provider of that location. Meanwhile, EOS, another squad that was fairly successful in our first game here, looking to pick up some additional KP. A first drop down there, a full wipe in form there onto Winx. Squads on the interior of Geyser now forced to make their way in, especially with that zone continuing to choke. I don't think there's enough time to make it towards the other side. As a result here, it's the perfect lineup for EOS. Odd providing majority of that damage, and likely the zone potentially follows suit here. Only moments to go. You can see it tick, tick, ticking.
Oh, it's sadistic. You hate to see it. But that's all she wrote for Control Freaks. You might notice as well that UTFT actually dropping in and amongst all that as well. So we're into the top 7, one of our top 3 from last time out, gone already, and still JSA remain. It's really worst case scenario for all of our teams in here, hoping to catch that, and a reminder, 24-point lead that they already hold across the rest of the competition.
Zone slightly starting to pull back towards the no-name village. I still stand by my point from earlier. Eastern Edge can be very advantageous here, especially if we see some of those buildings, especially talking about Zone 6. They tend to pull away from these positions, and teams who have set themselves up to last for the extended future of this game no longer have these kind of hubbies to call their home here. They don't have the cover to work with, and as a result, they get funneled out, choked very similarly to what we saw in that game 1, as all those teams were forced out of their exposures from the opposite side of the train line. Loch Nessies, one of those squads, still providing some damage, just waiting to see what they can pull off.
Been really impressed with them all throughout the game. They've chosen their engages well, but now they are forced into an engage as Roller GFs rolling onto the scene, and they have got some attitude, they got some sass, and they got some shieldage to boot as well. Let's see whether they choose to engage from down here, or whether, they're just going to just wait it out a little bit. So they've identified where the team is, and maybe just waiting for the Loch Nessies to come onto them rather than the other way around.
Either way, no matter what occurs here in terms of the action, rollers on here, lock, whatever, it's a death sentence for both of these teams. Even if they don't push each other, they're both going to be forced to rotate from the same point here, and as a result, likely going to put damage down and fight each other. You know what other teams love? Weak teams that they can come in and clean up, especially those that are forced back up against the edge. Roller GFs, I mean, they they have no choice. They need to find themselves a happy home, put themselves underneath this building to give them any kind of cover to just last into this next zone. But I'm willing to bet you with 7 squads remaining, yes, there are so many places available here for Rollers GF if they want to be in a position where they aren't quite as pressured. And like I said from earlier, that zone is no longer keeping those buildings in line. Teams are forced to move now.
Remember, friends, Zephyr Home Retail at your service. And an excellent bit of suggesting there as well, especially when you consider that that third squad, whoever they might be, did pick out Wraithy. And so Wraithy and by virtue Roller GFs and most likely Loch Nessies in the house themselves know that if they do engage now, there is going to be that third party moving in almost immediately. They do have a slight advantage, of course, now Roller GFs, which really does support not moving from here. They know that the next ring is going to be pretty close. They know that the next ring isn't going to have much coverage apart from that final house you can see there. But JSA, they caught themselves in a little bit of no man's land. It's a real tough situation for Sabs. The shield is knocked. They find enough of the rock to crouch behind to get a little bit of their shield back up. They've got a Kraber as well, but not much in the way of shieldage. JSA might be facing an uphill battle here despite the fact that they're looking down.
It's already a first knock, though, found here for JSA. They do take response into Ava. Notably, they were pushed off away from their original position out from the north for a team that was rotating in the position that's the most optimal spot to be had already been taken. This outside edge here, these little bitty exposures playing right off the eastern side of this next zone is such a good spot to be in. JSA weren't quite quick enough. Still, they do have the advantage in terms of player numbers here. It's 2v2, Kraber in hand, Mizik Zolia now completely wiped. It's a perfect opportunity for JSA to continue to find their way in. It's a 2v2 situation. Interceptor pylon ahead. Sabs, Janie, low. They find themselves a shield swap to work with, but now they need to turn. Now they need to put damage down before it might be too late.
Fight fire with fire. That's the conclusion we came to, and it's a conclusion that is working out. Sab's now all on her lonesome, and look at that. She's got barely any shield cells to reach over half the red shield that she had previously. Not even half health. They're going to make that at least 100% health. EOS gone. Loch Nessie's gone. So by virtue of surviving that team fight, which went so horribly for her two teammates, they've been able to gain another couple of placement points. That said, Arc is on the hunt, and I think they are going to find the blood that they were looking for. JSA gone.
JSA, our winners from game 1, our massive point leaders have been dropped here all the way down in 5th. It's still some placement to work with, but now a new crown is available here coming into our game 2. Arc, the complete and advantageous team in terms of control on the outside of all of these buildings. That is what is going to count here in these final moments. Guess who? A two legend roster here stuck on the interior of this building. A grav lift will give them some time to defend for now, but they've got a squad right on top of them.
And there's heartbreak for guess who as well, Christina. Unfortunately, her game froze, and so that is the reason why they are down 2 in the first place. They're the only team of the 3, of course, the third. Need reminding, of course, Roller GFs alongside Arc, and so they are really at a disadvantage here. The only advantage that they do have is the fact that they have the building. They are in there whilst Roller GF and Arc look to engage on either side of it.
Arc here still, like I said, in a fantastic position. They've heard the shots now, some of those knocks coming through, and they at least now push themselves to take advantage of the damage that has been found. Both finding knocks on either of these squads. It's Piku. She's got to be careful, forced to drop back down, but not before we do see some full wipes come through from these squads. Rollers GFs eliminated as that squad from the outside, but now it's the perfect opportunity for Arc to choke this one out. Massive damage found. This team forced to come right out of that doorway, and then Nox only seconds away. Bell not lasting much longer, and Arc, your winners of game 2.
They were top 10 in damage in game 1. They did not make the top 10 in game 1. They did not have, or I think, yeah, they didn't have top 10 in kills in game 1, rather, I should say. They didn't make top 10 in game 1 either. But anyway, they played this one perfectly, taking out JSA, of course, the monsters from game one. You know that in a disadvantageous position, you gotta go in, you gotta choke them out. They did that beautifully. 10 kills this time around for 22 points total. Roller GFs as well, picking up 9 kills. So some decent pointage for them. JSA, have they been nerfed? Maybe not. They still pick up 11 points from this one, still clearly going to be in the lead. And I think they, out of all of the teams, are going to be most thankful for this result, because ultimately the teams that did pick up the most points were not the teams that were chasing them after game number one.
Arc, Rollers, GF, Guess Who, some different names to what we saw from that game one there. LNW, UTFT, and EOS. This keeps this kind of point spread at least consistent on the overall leaderboard. And of course, with JSA now accruing another 11, even though it was the best performance, but it's still enough to keep them far and above the rest here. But it goes to show they're not infallible. They have all the weaknesses of any other roster there. We saw that. A late rotation that came back to bite. Didn't quite take away that kind of god spot that they're known for, as Arc took the position themselves.
Fallible, yes, but it did take a lot of hits on their armor before the weakness was finally exposed. And that has been the true threat of JSA. Yeah, they can get a lot of kills, but they make it top 5 almost every time. Will they do so again in game number 3? We're heading to World's Edge for one last time in Split 1. We hope to see you there on the other side of this. Hi friends and welcome back to the Celestial Cup. It's Soul League Grand Finals time for split number 1. Relic and Zephyr joining you, the lovely audience today. And it is, well, today it's all been about JSA until the end of game number 2 where we saw Arc take up the mantle as most recent game winners. Zephyr, we saw a different side, I think, to Arc overall. We saw some great performances as well from Rollers GF. Some nice kill counts on the board. Still a long way to go, of course, until the end of the series. JSA there to be caught.
Yeah, we'll take a look here, of course, at our overall leaderboard and see exactly how these teams have fared here in their point standing. JSA still far and above the rest, but that gap has closed by just a bit. What was a 24 gap is now a 22 here as Arc take away their victory in game 2. UTFT, EOS, Rollers, GF, some of that kind of equivalent point spread that we were talking about, not too far behind.
And really, the biggest disappointments, I would say, was not for JSA or for Arc or for Roller GFs. It was for everyone who finished inside the top 5 in game number 1 because they did not accrue the same points or any better points than we saw from game number 1. For Kino's Kitties, they're going to be happy. They are off. Well, they're not off the bottom of the leaderboard, but hey, at least they got a point, which is better than game number 1. It means that none of our ladies are going home pointless, which I think is always the first order of business that we love to see accomplished here at Celestial Cup. Mobile Aim, of course, the 20th and last place team in game number 2. Real disappointment, though, for the likes of Lust, for LNW, have really quiet games. Mochi as well caught out, and really there were some teams that excelled there in game number 2 and some not so much, and that is why JSA ultimately walk out happy, because they've only lost 2 points out of their total lead on everyone else, and those who were closest didn't really score that well themselves.
Well, either way you look at it, this is the final opportunity for some of these squads to accrue their points with a level of consistent nature here on World's Edge, usually being the more practiced of the 2 maps that are currently available competitively here. So if you want any opportunity to shore up the weaknesses that have been found in games 1 and 2, this is your chance. I'll tell you what, it has been some very, very unique endings to our both game 1 and 2. We haven't had a direct POI finish thus far.
Is game 3 gonna be the game? We shall wait and see. A reminder, folks, to please enjoy your social experience with here at Celestial Cup. Follow us at Celestial Cup on Twitter. Follow us here on Twitch. You're here already. Why not do it as everyone gets onto World's Edge? A very similar story to that as we have seen previously. The question is, are we going to look to outlook again, Zephyr?
No, because at this point, Kino's Kittens have moved towards the open Geyser, something, Geyser Village, by the way, on the west, not the Geyser, which I find very surprising. Both Landslide and the Geyser have been positions of a potential POI for squads in the past. So either way, they have survived for now, which I think is the biggest factor, even if the loot may not be the best. Team Nothing, though, on the other hand, starting to find success of their own. We see them tend to take fights early on here in Countdown as well, already finding an initial knock to start off the game.
Yeah, and Team Nothing, well, they've kind of been a little bit anonymous. Anonymous, not anomalous, although they might be anonymous by the end of this. We'll wait and see. As they have already, as you've already mentioned, got that knock, but Yoli, the shield knock already on them. They've got themselves a Valkyrie, so one of the most maneuverable legends of the lot. Of course, they've got one shield cell to utilize, not that they're going to be worrying about it. They just want to rotate back round to where the rest of the team are. Of course, an early kill is not to go unsniffed at, and Team Nothing, the rest of them are moving in on this squad, which they are looking to down early doors.
Strawberry starting to look for some angles here as they've pushed this squad back towards the Skyhook area, which is, for whomever that may be, a very dangerous situation, as you've definitely got that squad on the other side from the POI there that's more than happy to take advantage. But Yuli, from this other angle, she finds a quick knock here, and of course the damage to boot that finds the elimination here. VSK here, our first squad out.
Almost fumbled the ball there a little bit. That was a little bit too much shieldage and health taken off there. But got the job done. Ultimately, VSK drops as our first squad to go in game number 2. And a Phoenix kit will mean that all of that damage can be undone in a matter of seconds as we move onto Lust. In another big building of their own. Still yet to see. Nearest Countdown, I think.
Launch site here.
Launch site,
South
yes.
side. South side. It looks, again, don't worry about You're getting your practice in just as much as these girls, okay? All right. Either way, Mochi here on the other side, the receiving end of some of the damage that we just saw there. Toucan, of course, you can see Lust starting to extend a little bit further out. Trying to see if they can at least find the rest of that damage. You can see ordinances, or no, that's a mother load that was thrown back. A fuse in response here. Lust continuing to look for the pressure. Gravelet puts him on the backside, but ooh, not before Scarlet's MD does find Samurai Sky is still stuck between that box.
Top side, they find another. They get not the shield knock that they were looking for necessarily, but they do find a third party. Not great timing, but they have at least got another pick through. Scarlet Envy, down goes Kayla. Is that the third there? No shield knock yet again. If you're Renee, you're feeling a little bit aggrieved here that you haven't got something. That is a lot of damage, though, coming through from the frag. They are forced to rotate out here. Not great on the shield front as EOS is eliminated in our second squad.
EOS dropped down there by the hands of UTFT here. Lust looking for their own success as they pull back towards the stairwell. Gives them a little bit of cover to work with here as they are still pressured back with the squad coming out of the central area of launch site. Big break with the Arc Star found there. Lust, though, still forced towards the low ground. Might give them the opportunity to reset, but they need to get their way out of here sometime soon. As a result, you could say Renee already utilized that pull from the Wraith, and they're going to put themselves on the other side back towards Tree. Now, this isn't complete safety. It just gives them some distance to spare for the time being.
It's a beautiful relocation nonetheless. I think they've played that perfectly, of course, utilizing the stair wall. Yep, and now the relocation should be complete. Using that stair wall initially, if the opposition squad jumps down, hey, guess what? They've got 3 shots on them. If they don't engage, hey, guess what? They can relocate through 2 ultimate usage. I think that's as good as they could have played it. And here are our game 2 winners then. Arc, as the Sirens are eliminated early doors as well. They didn't really well up until this point, so going to be disappointed with a third from last place finish. Arc, they've got both levels covered here at Lava. And I can't really pick out who is the opposition squad, but either way, they are in that building.
If we get a moment here, I'd love to take a look at the map, see how our zone is set up. We do get that dramatic information that this is Guess Who on the other angle here in Lava Fisher, but it doesn't seem like the 2 entities are kind of facing toe-to-toe anytime soon. There we got it. Skyhook finish directly here, pulling into the POI itself. And there you go. Garners my wishes from the beginning of this game here. And this zone in particular can be fairly nasty, especially for squads that get all the love in the world, the opportunity to put themselves into any kind of real estate. Skyhook being the most diverse out of any of the POIs here. But for now, back towards Lava Fisher. Flower Power have moved in, and they're going to ignite the catalyst to the action here.
Yeah, so they're moving in behind Arc, of course. Guess who our second place finishers? Arc our first place finishers. And so this is really a bit of a game 2 microcosm with Flower Power looking to crash the party. Already a shield break on its Piku, and the chase is on Princess and Giggle Autumn. Staying close to that rock face, all the shots miss. And so its Piku gets away with it as they look to just rotate back now, maybe look for a little bit more on the utility, shield, health front, whatever they can utilize, they will utilize. Of course, the ring only just arrived at the precipice there, although a shot here, they've got to be wary because Nice Girls have entered the fray.
Nice Girls also coming through from the south side of the map. Most teams opting to kind of carry towards the Lava Fisher area just to see if they can find any source of damage or KP that might garner them a lead. Nice Girls still taking their time. They opt to go for the eastern edge where they can play off some of the exposure themselves, and also to set themselves up for what will be their next rotation when we start making, or at least our point regarding closing that gap, that kind of countdown space, that landslide area as well, the northern side that can be so treacherous to make your way through, especially if you are not set up.
I do believe we got another Southern squad coming up here, and I don't know who it is, but it's basically third party upon fourth party upon fifth party. Look, I'm trying to try some new stuff. I apologize in advance, or
that's
not in advance.
That's like personal harassment for me specifically. That'd be like if I said, "Oh, Flower Power taking to the skies here." Over to Countdown, they found themselves hopefully a position here on the western end, but no, directly telling Skyhook.
You've somehow managed to combine English, Welsh,
and
Scottish into
there.
one. But you know what? I've heard worse, so congratulations.
good Australian, and that's what I was kind of combating with. I get it from Fuse.
I don't blame you. He has got a wonderful Australian accent, and it's difficult to really to listen away from. We don't look away from him because he's a gorgeous man as well. But anyway, back to the action. 16 squads left here. The Mummies looking to relocate through the Valkyrie. Of course, not exactly a terrible situation here. They found themselves at Fragment East, going to look to relocate into the west side of the city, move closer towards that sky hook finish, and as we see the map ahead of us, they've got a little bit of free real estate to work with as well.
Ooh, bit of area to play off of here. I like this side in comparison to what we were seeing towards Lava Fissure and that open-ended area towards the countdown side. Looks like there still remains a few other squads. LNW was a dominating factor here coming into the Celestial Cup Finals. Looks like they're only playing with 2 going into Game 3. Don't know exactly the cause. We'll have to check in with y'all in just a moment. But for now, I mean, still playing this one just as aggressive. A quick micro drone scan, following up on whatever this legend may birth.
Yeah, third player. Hey, feel free to let us know in chat. That is a beautiful shield pop. The R301. It is one of my favorite weapons, has always been one of my favorite weapons, and will always be one of my favorite weapons for that very reason. Mobile aim is gone, and LNW, they might be down 1, but they are still lethal from a distance.
LNW here able to successfully at least put some KP on the board. You can see that kill feed, though. A squad that you don't want to find success. JSA with a knock. We tune in with KBM on a slow rotation out from the Harvester Tunnel area, just making their impression on Landslide. Not quite sure if anyone has set up here directly. It wouldn't provide much, as you have to carry yourself more aptly into that next zone, and as a result, this shouldn't be your position, but you still have to wonder. There's a lot of squads that, like Loch Nessies, who are still making their way through this open-ended space.
Really, they do not look ready for a team fight either. Maybe utility-wise, yes. They're going to be at a disadvantage with a couple of white shields still to boot. Nice girls. They're looking for an engage here, and then looking for a couple of picks. They are holed up this opposition team in a building which you've seen utilized many, many times in the Seoul League as of yet, and indeed across ALGS as well. A popular spot. It's easy to defend, but if you've got the right legends, you are able to flush them out. Looks like they're going to disengage for now. Happy with the damage done, and just waiting to let the ring do the work for them.
Still, I don't quite want to see Nice Girls give this one up in its entirety. I like the position that they are taking, but I want them to keep tabs on what may be that team. Obviously, they've got a squad out here towards the east that they can't quite just say free range, let's go for this other team entirely, and as a result, they pull back more directly towards that building. But I would even warrant maybe potential rotations back towards Skyhook. Start setting up in those buildings that will provide when we start talking about the late game. I mean, there are a plethora when we start talking about that choke, so it's the perfect opportunity to make movements. Loch Nessies starting their own source of damage. The charge rifle not quite ticking there. Nice Girls now going to take advantage of the damage that was provided from the bar and push back. A nice singularity gets the pull there onto Kino. Now likely falls to the rest of the team.
They chase him through the tunnel, and they're still not able to get the squad locked down here, although there goes another. And I gotta say, just a little micromanagement source from Loch Nessies there, switching the white shield over to the more longer range charge rifle user to get that shielding up to blue. I think that's a really nice bit of micromanage. I see you, and I like what I see. But still, Kino Kitten's still in. And I don't know quite how. There goes Jico, but where is this third? Where have they been able to escape to? There were 2 teams on either side of this area, and somehow she slipped away.
Well, either way, it's something that allows Kino's Kittens to continue to last here, to provide what might be their best performance that we've seen all day. Regarding that, I believe they're currently sitting on just 1 point alone. For Nice Girls, finally, it's the opportunity to start making their way towards Skyhook and have their pick of poison when we start talking about what buildings are available. This zone in particular going to be more directly the split between the central pyre as well as a little bit of that train line ahead. Obviously, having that high ground, having complete control of the spire itself, where you see JSA right now, that is the most optimal position.
It's going to get tight. We're still 14 squads up and online, but look, that's one of the wonderful things about Skyhook in general.
That's Skyhook.
You can have so many teams in such a small area, and it makes for the most wonderful of finishes. We certainly hope that it'll be a grandstand finish to cap off the World's Edge maps here in the Seoul Cup Split 1. Of course, back with Flower Power, they've already rotated into Skyhook, and they've selected their building, they've put the rent down, and they are quite happy to set up shop, especially with that core stick. They can afford to do that early doors, but JSA, they're here as well, and they've got that big hexagonal or octagonal building. There's a lot of sides to it, but there is a bit of an invasion here. They've been able to sneak up on JSA. I'm not entirely sure who it is, but look at this. Sabs has been forced to rotate back in. They've left home, and unfortunately for JSA, they've been caught with their trousers down a little bit here, and I wonder whether they're going to be able to get away with this. It's a nice shield pop from JD. Up goes
good.
Shield break, and that's wonderful. They might be able to turn this around. Down goes Amelie, and oh my goodness, you're going to use some rampage here? Sure, why not? It's not going to work for you. JSA down to 1. This would be one of their worst performances in the Seoul League Split 1. If it is to end like this, where is that third player? It feels like a 1-on-1.
It's a drop down there on Pretty Bond Girl. It's now simply a 1v1 situation here for Sabs. Trying to do the best for her squad at this point, playing around the backside of her knockdown shield. Still though, tries to come through from the other angle to get some early damage off, but you don't want to face a 1v1 here against Sabs. Nice Girl's eliminated, but I'll tell you what, those shots are loud. They can be heard echoing across the valley. And for JSA, now they have to contest against one more. Sabs, surprisingly able to find her way out of this situation, but I'll tell you what, it's likely that the rest of the JSA squad suffers here, even if Sabs can maybe last.
Oh my word, how are you a cat? Because it feels like you got 9 lives, Sabs. I mean, prioritizing the health kit, definitely the best call here. If all of these other squads could communicate, you'd be like, JSA! JSA, they're almost down, but they can't, and that's the frustration for all of them, for all of you watching at home. If you're going against JSA, I mean, look, they are the big bad bullies of the server, I realize that, but this is excellent play from Sabs. We've got to give them great credit, but around the corner, had she taken one more step, she would have fallen into the trap that Team Nothing had set. She doesn't know how lucky she was.
I was about to say, it's not even a trap, it's just the existence of this squad. One bad rotation out towards that fence line or just anything to keep Sabs alive would have paid in potentially her death. For now, we tune in back towards this Spire. This is definitely still the region when we talk about contesting something. Meanwhile, Sabs picked up a knock on UTFT while we tuned away. We can't leave her alone for a second.
And she only extends her kills lead as well, of course, for the MVP award. All the while, other squads are engaging themselves, and the longer she survives, the more placement points she gets for her team. I think she realizes at this point, in terms of overall potential, even getting top 5 by this point is going to be a huge overachievement from what is a really disadvantageous position. But she set herself up nicely. She's in a bit of a chokehold, yes, but honestly, that's where you want to be if you're in a solo position. You don't want to be found, but she is going to be found. The C ultimate comes out as we join Lust, and well, they've got a nice orange force field in front of them, and they are going to rotate round. Lovely use of the Horizon utility here to rotate up into the first floor of the building, and there's no one to be found as of yet.
The big thing here now is what provided for so long. The Spire's no longer going to be the best for any of these squads. In fact, you want to be on the opposite end now, sitting up for the upper angles, that's the upper high ground on that train line, as that will provide. And JSA finally spotted out there in their final moments. Meanwhile, for Lust, they're more than successful as Team Nothing tries to fight their way back up top. We saw them face some knocks there earlier as Renee found a drop onto Yeely. Seems the last remaining members anywhere to be found here. Lust, though, I mean, this is the perfect opportunity for them to start making their impressions, working their way forward here. They only have so much time to do so.
Yeah, Scarlet's MVP either at the moment. The rest of the server breathing a sigh when we've seen JSA's name come up in the kill counter. Team Nothing's gone down to 9. Mummies, they're looking to finish off another squad here. A bit of a chokehold here. Control Freaks down and Mummies down. I think that was 3 squads all in one area. Flower Power come out on top.
Flower Power here, even still, though, forced to make their own rotations. They clean out their backside from the building behind, but they still need to make their own movements here ahead, start setting themselves up, even if it's on the corner or the cusp of what lies ahead. Remember, this is a squad that has to be set up to be in a good situation. You have to get Giggle ahead of the pack to start laying down those traps to provide the defensive utility that makes Caustic worth it for this roster. Into the next building they go. We'll see how that lasts, how that bears for Lust. It's time for them to drop.
And they have got the drop on. Well, they did have the drop on, but wow, a lot of damage coming out. Roller GFs do go down, but Scarlet's Envy, the kill leader. Oh,
Nice!
That's a wonderful use of the Horizon utility. They're going to be hoping that no one spotted that. Sadly, they did. And Lust, we were thinking maybe this was their moment to get the win, to get the dub. Not so, thanks to Roller GFs.
Meanwhile, Flower Power onto the interior of this building. Yes, they have the corner to play with in the end. It's UTFT who set themselves up above Flower Power now, taking advantage of the pressure from things like the gas, have the complete first floor through their playing space here. And of course, they are at the numbers advantage when we start talking about the position ahead of UTFT. But for both of these squads, 5 left remaining here as a whole. These two, I mean, they're back up against the zone wall. The minute this one starts to close in, there are a plethora of squads just waiting to beam out on those doors.
Flower Power, at least in the advantageous position of these two, they've got that immediate door out to the courtyard. I think the final UTFT member does not. They're going to have to come through their noisy neighbors, and I think we all know which way that's going to end. Guess who, though? They find themselves in a great position, but not as great as the folks up there. A nice thermite grenade chipping away at the shields.
Christina!
A couple of pops as Christina, of course, had a really nasty game too, had a game freeze. You hate to see it, but she's back indoors by the skin of her teeth. Lucky escape.
Just barely there. The kick of that thermite could have done her in. Utilize that habitat, especially as the squad starts to make their own impressions from below. A Breeze utilizing the rolling thunder here to provide some pressure from above. They've got a bit of a pinch as the squad from below, as well as a single member just above them, might provide damage. That zone's backing wall, though, gives them the opportunity to now all play directly on top of the train line, start this climb up, and start utilizing this high ground disparity. Ooh. That's big price. Big price to pay.
That is a big price, and with the ring ever encroaching, you don't want to see it at this stage. To be fair, they are one of the best teams in terms of just overall numbers. 5 squads left, only 11 players left on the map, however. They find themselves in a great position versus this team, however. Thermites go in, that's a lot of damage, and guess who? They're going to have a shield knock on Belru, but I believe that they should at least get the knock on the total squad. No, still up, whoever they are, they're doing well. It might very well be Flower Power, actually, who might have rotated around here. Bellarui going to try and pop off the Phoenix kit as down goes A Breeze, and the Phoenix kit is going to be popped, so Bellarui in a good place. Christina, who as well, looking pretty decent, as we're still with 5 squads in the area. How, you ask? I really have no idea. We're going to see a lot of names popping up. Ark's gone, UTFT's gone, guess who? They're gone as well, which leaves 2 squads left. Flower Power, who are they going up against? We really don't know. It's Spray and Pray and Flower Power. They come home with the colors.
Flower Power here. The squad that was back up against the wall, allowed to come out from the house they call a home there in the final moments of that game, and even still pressured by all belief there. That Flower Power was the squad that was held by that singularity we saw from the high ground that was in control by guess who there in that moment. They still managed to survive through all of that damage and last through the absolute sheer chaos that existed there in the final moments here on World's Edge. And as a result, they finish off here with 23 points overall.
And I tell you what, this is the worst case scenario for GSA, because not only did they not make top 10, but Flower Power, LNW, 2 of those underdog names that we were talking about going into the finals of Split 1. They find themselves Uno and Deuce on the top and the second step of the podium. They got decent kill points there as well. And so really we await the leaderboard with anticipation, because I think that very healthy looking 22-point gap is going to look a little less healthy heading on to Storm Point.
Yeah, absolutely. Flower Power, LNW, Lust, even to say still, as well as
Yeah.
UTFT, all getting the double digits that now have given this series a little bit more of the competitive merit, especially when we start talking about the chaos that Storm Point map brings and the fact that just about anyone can come out on top due to the level of practice there.
Right. Halftime, folks. You know what that means. Go stretch your legs. Go get yourself a drink of water. Hydrate, don't dehydrate. But be sure to get back here ASAP because the second half of the finals is due. Storm Point ×3 awaits us. Who's going to come out on top? We'll see you after this. Storm Point awaits. Welcome back to the Celestial Cup. It's the Soul League Split 1 Finals, and I am Relic. He is Zephyr. Of course, I think we need to give a big shout out to Etsuki as well on production today. It's wonderful having such a fantastic team here at Celestial Cup to put on some fantastic women's Apex for you. And what a day it has been, where after running away in game number 1, bit by bit, JSA have been brought back. And now, as we take our first look at halftime at the points leaderboard going into Storm Point, Zephyr, ultimately, it was a day to forget game number 3 for JSA. Not able to make the top 10, not able to get the amount of kills on the board that they would like, and their biggest rivals scoring decently.
Yeah, as you can see, of course, on that leaderboard here for the overall JSA, that gap not quite as oppressive this time around. Still absolutely massive. All right, we lied. We lied.
I thought that was going to be closer than I did mental maths, and I'm like...
We sat here. We really thought it was going to be less than 20. It is not. It is still a 21-point gap. I'll say this, though. it's all within one game here. JSA have shown they are not without fault. They've shown that they can walk away from a game like in number 3 where they only pick up 4 points here, right? And so
Yeah.
all these other squads sitting now roughly 20 behind, it might take 2 games, but it's still well within the position here to put themselves on top.
And a quick little mention to our MVP bonus. Of course, it's not just the top 5 that are going to be paid out as a $1,700 prize pool. By the way, how awesome is that? Well, 50 of those dollars are going to go to the player with the most kills at the end of today. No surprise to see JSA dominating the early standings. It is Sabs who is currently on top at the moment with total kills. I think Janie just behind as we see the overall points moving over. Yes, excellent. That's yes, there we go. There's the player kills I was looking for. Janie and Avali actually pretty close behind, 4 kills apiece. But again, we've got 3 more games left, Zeva, as you rightly say. That could all change at a moment's notice. And really, if you are a JSA fan, what you're hoping for as we enter Storm Point for the first time is that here on that first game number 4 in total of the series, of course, they can bounce back from a pretty average for them game number 3. That said, everyone else, all 19 teams on the server apart from them, are going to be making sure or trying their darndest to limit their capabilities, to shackle them down and bring that 21-point lead even further closer to themselves.
Well, either way, at this current point here, Storm Point is a bit of a reset for a lot of these squads here. We talk about the less kind of practice that exists, the kind of enigma, the unsolved mystery that is within this map, especially for a lot of our competitors here on the Celestial Cup. Obviously, this first moment where we start looking at some of these drops, absolutely crucial here. It looks like, looking at the northern side of this map, fairly clean. It looks like we might be having a squad share the down beast with another, as well as Fish Farms, potentially a spot of contention.
Yeah, Southeast definitely looking the most juicy, but we start our day on Storm Point with Mochi. Well, I mean, we're going to quickly go into nothing because we do have one of those early engages at the down beast. It's pretty early doors, of course. Shields across the board, 14-0, which is, you know, what you'd expect early doors, right? But they are going to rotate out here, maybe look for a little bit more on the weaponry side. And it's VSK, of course, who moved themselves into the beast itself. They're going to pick up an early blue shield, a second early blue shield at that as well. And VSK, one of these teams who, at this point, you're looking at a long shot to walk away with any money whatsoever. But while there are still points on the table, whilst it's still mathematically possible, they're going to try their best.
Well, either way, VSK here looking to set themselves up at least to contest with what might be Team Nothing, but they have lost out on that high ground that exists here on this POI. Now, granted, there is so much space here on the down beast that, I mean, you can play from any other angle and likely find yourself a rotation that provides fruitful. My big question is, this has lasted now for quite some time. Obviously, Team Nothing, VSK are going to start fighting in potentially some pattern. I worry teams from Checkpoint, teams from potentially Mills might make their own impressions. But meanwhile, back towards Fish Farms, as we talked about just a moment ago, a drop found there. Ms. Deal facing issues. Alita Angel not.
There's only one thing being farmed here, and unfortunately it's mobile aim. They've got the banner. They might be wise to rotate out My Little Pony. The shield knocked. They're going to try and just leg it down the beach. It's like Normandy all over again, but the other way, not up. This is, you know, it's not what you want to see, really. They're going to try and rotate out. They do as probably successfully as they could have done.
Whoa!
Going to try and find it. Oh,
what the heck just happened? Loch Nessies on the other side there are taken out. This Deal, who starts that fight off, is eliminated. Third party just comes through and absolutely demolishes the action at Fish Farms.
well.
Huh.
I'm going to go with Will Ferrell. That escalated quickly. I mean, that's a great spot as well, because Loch Nessies, one of those teams really on the periphery. We're looking at them and maybe looking to cause a surprise. Well, the only surprise here is that they're out so early. The first team gone, as everyone else just looks to try and process what just happened. Are we really just looking at an Arc Star? Okay, then.
IMC. No, we're not looking at an Arc Star. We're looking at potentially a team that resides below, set up within the IMC Armory. Scarlet's Envy, she's set up to utilize that gravity lift to dissuade the launch pad that is usually in effect after this opens up here. And obviously, with those ordinances traded around on the ready, Lust are looking to take advantage of this squad from inside.
It's just a waiting game, and really sometimes
wait. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, it's patience is not a virtue that some Apex players have, I don't think, but it's a virtue which is well worth having. Of course, you don't want to have it in too much a volume, I don't think, because then you have a situation like Team Nothing, for example, where they could engage, they could look to get aggressive, and then they ultimately pay for it later on. But it is the Kino's Kittens here on the inside, and they have found themselves in this a similar situation before, where they're holed up, they're going to try and run away. That's a good shield knock here, but they have managed to run away somewhat successfully. They've got past the rock,
and a knock!
That is a knock, and they have turned around, and they're looking to try and flip the table. That's a knock for Lust on the Kino's Kittens. There goes another, and I feel like this squad, we're going to be saying goodbye very soon. There it is, their squad number 2 gone.
There was a moment there where it looked like it looked successful for Kino's Kittens, utilizing the Ash phase portal there to get them far and away from the dominance that was being held off there from Team Lust, but it just didn't last much longer. They were still caught on the backside there. Meanwhile, Launchpad, an area that is usually heavily contested due to its efficiency when we start talking about loot and rotations ahead. Control Freaks coming through from the far eastern side, putting damage down, looking to see where this squad may be. They're putting themselves up top, and it's a little too late for Jazz to utilize that phase.
On the Nicky, the shield knocked health down to below 50%. Control Freaks with a lot of success actually on Storm Point. They've found a win in week number 1, and it was quite a good win if I remember correctly. Real clutch in the end, moving towards actually Launchpad as a final destination, I believe. It's the Sirens up on top, and Sirens, it's very much the opposite story for them. When it's come to Storm Point, Sirens have really struggled for any sort of momentum, but we're quickly moving over to JSA, who's already finding a great situation for themselves shield-wise. They're chasing a team up the hill here, using some Valkyrie rockets, trying to get a little bit more damage. Oh, that's some nice picks. Beautiful. No shield breaks, but with the ring closing in, they find themselves in a perfect choke point scenario.
Still, they've already found the initial drop there. It's the perfect opportunity for them to take advantage of the numbers advantage and clean this squad up. JSA, they can smell blood in the water like sharks. They swim here. Another knock. A Breezy down. A full crack as well, and that'll be it here for the final remaining. One still left alive. It looks like they got the revive off.
Wow.
In that final moment there, I mean, it's only so much to last for now. Caught there on the backside. Guess who? Stuck.
That is 2 top 3 appearances. That streak comes to an end as the Sirens, well, they find themselves in a bit of a weird team fight here as Angie needs to get out of their stat, and they need to get wrong one. I mean, the shield cell's great. Do they have any help to utilize? I think Angie's going down. Ashki certainly is. Angie,
there's no time.
They have no time. Oh my word. UTFT, Team Nothing, and the Sirens drop in quick succession.
UTFT coming through from the backside there to take advantage as well. It looks like Moville aim from the rotation from Fish Farms out there towards Launchpad. Mochi here still stuck in zone as well, but it looks like they're hunting down a squad. Our winners from game 2 eliminated here as everyone is pressing their advantage.
If this is who I think it is, I believe it's JSA. And Mochi are looking to capitalize on the team fight. They just came off. No, Mochi in a completely different part of the map. They rotated out here. And they have got a little bit of recovery to do.
Right.
Oh, no, it is. Yeah, no, it is right. Sorry. You're right. Storm Point's still definitely like the map which I'm least familiar with. But at least my mind knows what I'm doing better than my heart. Some 30-30 action here as Mochi look to move down the hill. And to be fair, they found themselves in a bit of a precarious situation because Fukin's moved in a little too early. The picks are coming through. Samurai Sky in the best situation here. Kyla very much stuck behind a rock, but you've got to get out of the ring, otherwise you're not going to be doing anything much more.
The big issue here is that Mochi had the perfect opportunity to put damage down where it counted against JSA while they were in the zone. They let them get too far, let them set up within this position here, get the health reset off, and at that point, for JSA though, they still have to defend. A squad from below trying to fight their way inside. Ably takes position up here, but doesn't quite find those cracks necessary. Singularity might have been broken, but still, it's quite the takerage of damage here. Control Freaks eliminated as well. Sab starting to work her way outside.
They've got that nice building for cover. They've got the first floor for cover. They rotate out. They look for the engage. It's brave, but it might cost them. Sabs goes down. Of course, our kill leader overall. Look at that MVP. A rotation back
Another
up
knock
for Janie. Another knock comes through for Avali. Means such a strong player, such a consistent player. And the reason why that squad is still up is because of that yellow shielding. Of course, still got one up. That one is now gone. Last eliminated. We reached the top 10.
A quick goal or gold knockdown revive here from Avali to get JSA back into play. That's the second squad that they have wiped now. A massive assertion in terms of KP. Definitely better than what we saw from that last game 3. And this is definitely not the pace that you want JSA on, especially if you're just trying to improve what was that little gap that we saw form there, that 20 points that has just been very slowly ticking away here. South side of the map, outside of Shipfall, EOS. Pushing in, looks like a Rolling Thunder for now, but still, good beam found! Mizik Zodi with the knock there onto Banrion.
They move in, they look for more. I don't blame them. That's another down. Beautiful, clinical, another shield knock potentially. I don't think it was quite that. Third party, they're going to try and take advantage here. Really nice, really dodgy, really slick, but they've still not got the knock. There it is, LNW gone. But here comes that second initial squad that we were talking about. Maybe it's the third. Who really knows? It's a bloodbath at the moment as EOS looks to take control.
Singularity pulling Mizik Zodia back for now, but the squad does not follow in tow as a result. It's a nice reset here. Rollers GF slowly trying to work their way inside, but they were far too split, especially for Yvette to throw down that Singularity as early as she did. Now Rollers GF might have to pay the price. You can see EOS already starting to take a bit of angles, already finding a major crack there onto Ashweed.
Moment of brief reprieve for EOS as they look to just restock, regroup, re-rally. They spotted, they know where that opposition team is. They're just waiting and waiting, but the more that they wait, Zephyr, I fear that they're gonna let that squad get away with some pops of their own.
Either way, it's a nice knock found there. A full thirst onto Banrion. That's something, at least for EOS to work with, allowing them to take more dominance, more control back into this area. They're happy with current position of seeing that kill feed. But we do see one fall. Flower power on their own aggressive support. It looks like they're coming through to clean up the back end of a third party here.
My Little Pony goes down, Alita Angel goes down, and we're back with JSA who are on the warpath. Once again, a full assault on this building, a beautiful shield break, and bye-bye baby, goodbye baby blue. Don't have to worry about them anymore, at least not in the short term. They can knock these folks down and not worry about it. They got to seek out that third to get the knock on the entire team. They enter the building, there they are, Mummy's eliminated.
Mommy's here, making up more skulls upon the wall for JSA on their first impressions of Storm Point. JSA now, these sole defenders coming off the north side of the map. This edge style of play providing many fruit to bear in terms of the KP that has kept them competitive. But we'll talk about the zone for now. Rollers GF, Shipfall, the area that will behold, and especially slow exposure out here towards the east. Look towards some of the, we'll say, fragments, some of the garbage there. That'll be those kind of God spot positions, especially if Shipfall is no longer available. This direct hunker of a beast is pulled away from.
Nice bit of production there. Nice little look at the entire ship. It's wonderful. It's glorious, even if it might be garbage. And you know what? It's not. You know
there
what's
it
not
is.
garbage?
There it is.
It's
there it is.
There. I mean, spot on. I should have expected this much from you, honestly, at this point, because I mean, you know all things Apex, and what I know, at least from Roller GFs, is that they found themselves in one of the better places to be. They've got that positional advantage. They've got the height advantage. They've got the ability to transition out. And right now, they don't really need to engage. Pop shots here and there, maybe, but they don't necessarily need to reveal their location to everyone, lest everyone decides to pay them a visit.
So to get more specific here, you've got a bit of a ridge line out there towards the east in between the Shipfall as well as that little bit of the domed Pineapple building you can see just south of Gale Station there. That becomes the little bit of height disparity that teams are allowed to play off of, especially as you take advantage of some of the fragments that exist within that ridge there. So for Rollers GF, like you said, it's a great position. Don't have much to contest with, and you can see just ahead of them they can already start setting up when available, especially once they clear the backside or potentially eliminate one of these rosters.
They have visitors and not very welcome ones
Oh, no.
either. Nice pop on Ashwee's shield from whoever they are. I'm also worried about when JSA transitions in from northward. It's VSK actually who we join, and this is some good point haul that VSK can accrue for themselves if they are able to make it to the top 5, if they can keep the kill streaks rolling. Here is JSA. They find themselves near enough the fallen ship, but it's a little bit east, and they can see another team looking to rotate in from where they were behind them. They're going to have that Valkyrie ult to use. Is it just a solo player looking to save the team? Well, to be fair, that does mean that there's less to hit, even though there's more people trying to hit the one thing. The shots keep on firing, the shots keep on missing. It's a nice enough relocation, but that is enemy territory that they're landing in.
Lucky there for that Valkyrie for now. Could have been shot out of the sky. We'll see how they fare in the face of VZH as well as Rollers GF. They're sitting right atop of them. JSA, the sole squad coming out of the northern end. It looks like everyone else who's out towards the Gale Station opted for a southern rotation down towards that Pineapple. As a result now, everyone set up Flower Power. Oh, back on that Newcastle now that we've started their journey here on Stormpoint, have set up the castle wall, have started to use the ridgeline that we have discussed in pairing with some of these exposures to give them cover. Still though, look at their attention. It's pointed towards the south. It's pointed towards Shipfall. This still doesn't solve the issue that is JSA from behind.
I was going to say, and there they are. Oh, there they are. It's the full engage. Oh, it's disgusting. Oh, it's terrible. It's instant. It's as if you called it as it happened. That's what we do. We're commentators. But JSA find themselves in a real precarious situation. Shields knocked across the board. Health down at a premium. And JSA find themselves on the back foot when they thought they were on the front.
Still, it's KP to work with. They eliminate Flower Power, but they lose out Ava. Janie forced to respond on her own, but not before Sabs faced the knock as well. Janie with the reset of help, but not before EOS coming up from below. Find the successful wipe here. They were on the back foot. They were on the low ground, the worst possible position. But they make good work of that third party and put themselves into the top 5.
And now the fruits of Newcastle's labor is theirs to control. Now they have the shielded area, but I don't think they're going to utilize it that much. They know that they have enemies out there on the fallen ship, and they know that those enemies are on the move, as we spotted there. Looks like we still have another team behind this Newcastle vantage point. They're in and amongst the shipwreck there. Nice pops from Stana Shy. They're a bit spread out here. Good thing that they are really. They've got eyes on everything and everyone possible. Still 5 squads left here as we enter the final ring.
EOS here looking to defend, like I said, playing off of the cover that had been provided for them now. Still just trying to keep themselves alive. It looks like they might have some attention from behind. Rolling Thunder down there from Stana Shy for now. Give them the impression of safety, at least towards the other side of Shipfall. And yes, you can see there is a few legends that rest below. Bunch of things. Exodia Odd starting to extend themselves out.
Oh, it looks like we do have an engage, actually. I think that's VSK and KBM, presumably. Well, KBM is gone. That's a really nice pick on Stana Shy's shield. EOS looking to rotate round here. It's a difficult place to be. Oh, that's a fantastic shot. And Mogul Aim, who've made it to top 4. That is by far and away their best performance of the series so far. Well, they are gone.
Woo. EOS here, still a lot of space to work with, but another fight had taken place down there in the water towards the final cover that is available for this last zone there. And they're now in the prime position to walk away from this game. EOS, they still have to contest against this squad towards the north, which I believe is VSK. They themselves are going to lose out on this high ground in just a moment, down towards the beach.
They can hear shots firing. There is an engage going on, or maybe it is just some pot shots to try and draw Miss Exodia out. Couple of shots do find their mark. No shield popped as of yet. This should be VSK that has rotated to the north. They find themselves furthest away from where this final ring is gonna land. Odd, another couple of shots find their mark. There are Kathleen, Volk, and Snow Red. You can see there Yvette and the rest of their squad. I think that's only a couple, but we do have the engage coming through from VSK then. Miss Exodia, still that shield has not popped. VSK with the advantage for now. They're pressing the advantage, but unfortunately that advantage is gone. There has been a down, and I think that this is going to be sayonara for VSK. More shots land. The shield situation is looking so good. VSK, they gave it their best shot. They are eliminated as our third best team here in game number 4. EOS on the precipice of victory.
Well, EOS, they still have to contest against the lack of cover ahead on this beach. I mean, you just have to go for it at this point. The little bitty of rocks that are available might not be enough to work with. Ashby Wraith quickly cleaned up. EOS take advantage of the high angles. They're positioned from above and take victory in game 4.
You didn't need any particularly stubborn agents to clean up the job there. It was so clinical. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. It was decisive, and I'm not sure if they truly knew that it was only a 3v2 situation, but either way, fantastic from them. But can we get a shout out, please, to JSA once again, who somehow picked up 14 kills. They're the kill leaders from this entire... What?
Oh my gosh. Almost an entire fourth of the lobby under JSA's belt. And even though knocked out outside of the top 5 with only 3 placement points, they still put themselves second on the board in terms of overall scoring in match 4. Still, though, it's not quite as close there as the 25, though, from EOS. I mean, I was about to say the overall leaderboard though scares me.
I think the overall leaderboard has actually increased because I don't remember EOS in the top 6 conversation. Not gonna lie to you, but hey, listen, we can still hold out some hope here for a competitive series until the end. There are still 2 more games to go, 2 absolute stinkers for JSA, and the table can flip on its head.
Yeah. Well, here for JSA, I mean, we've seen what they can do with chaos in game 4 of Stormpoint. The only question is if they're going to be able to maintain that level of consistency. We're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, our overall leaderboard, we'll see exactly how big that gap has become. Stick around.
Welcome back, friends. The light is at the end of the tunnel, but who's going to reach it first? Well, myself, Relic, and Zephyr are going to try and guide you through the action as best as we can. And the action that we saw, it favored AS, of course, in game number 4 there, winning the first map on Storm Point. But JSA, despite not even finishing inside the top 10, managed to get 14 KP onto their total. We imagine that that 21-point lead might, for the first time tonight, extend. And yeah, no surprise there. It's extended to 25. The rest of the field sort of in agony.
It's still playable within 2 games here, but I mean, it comes back to this fact. Teams like EOS or Rollers GFs, I mean, they need to have 2 great performances in succession, not just one. I mean, it has to be the next 2 games, 5 and 6 here. I'd hate to say it, but we might be starting the discussion regarding top 5 instead of first place, because a 25-point gap is definitely a tall drink of water to swallow.
Might be a dangerous amount. You can do something as silly as drink too much water, believe you me. But someone who's not gotten enough of the kill count is Avali, actually, who throughout the course of game number 4 takes the lead of the MVP kill leaderboard, ahead of Sabs by just 1 kill. Worth mentioning on that front, $50, of course, going to the winner of the person with the most kills. It's as simple as that. There we are. And so Janie in close pursuit, of course. It really does feel like throughout this day, it's going to go to one of the JSA players. But I do want to give a little shout out to Oz, who is within striking distance. 1 good game for their team, often flying.
I also want to bring up Standard Shy, albeit lower on our top 10 player kills, sitting in 8th place, tied, of course, with a plethora here, is the only player to stay what we would consider consistent in terms of the damage alongside what is the dominating competitors, JSA. Goes to point out the capabilities of Stanner.
Yeah, 100%. But really, it does go back to that earlier point that you make, where as much as we can definitely praise these guys for how well they're doing, we have to praise them in the context of this series. And that context is now JSA is just steamrolling the competition. There's no other way to put it. And really, it will take a monumental effort
what the heck is that?
These guys.
Hold on, I can't do math, so I've got the calculator out here. 1719 divided by 4. That is, JSA have accumulated an average of 4,297 4,200. Let's round it up. 4,300 damage per game. Per game. I mean, we made mention of like a usual very dominant good squad picks up at least, 1 to 1.5. We see a happy setup around maybe 3K if you're really reaching. This is absurd.
Hey, look, they put in the work. They put in the work, and it shows. And it is just a marker for the rest of the Celestial League heading into Split 2 of the Soul League. You want to beat these folks? It's time to get on the grind as we head into game number 5. We start our journey with Mummies, and really, again, we go back to this point of, look, you're into the final stretch here. You're into the final 2 games. Picking up those placement points, sure, that can do you well and good early days, but you now need to be getting KP if you want any hope of picking up some money at the end of tonight.
I'll talk about that a little more once this fight concludes, but for now, Lust look to make impressions here. It seems like some early crafting was taking place, and Lust catch this one out here. Flesh found in the drop finally there onto YOLO Nicole. Thermite to follow suit. The team on the interior of this building, grab lift utilized to give them their mobility, but now they just choke this one out. Gibraltar on the other angle. Chico quickly eliminated. The rest of Ball Suit. Kino's Kittens down in 20th.
You can almost hear the audible "oh" when that door was kicked in, and there was just a Gibraltar completely gormless on the other side. Sad record, unfortunately, for Kino's Kittens for today. They become the first team to become the first team eliminated across 2 games, one on World's Edge, one now here, of course, on Stormpoint. VSK at the Downed Beast, on the innards of the Beast. We saw them actually drop here in game number 4 as well, but it seems like there's no Team Nothing to disturb their looting for the moment.
Ooh. Nice girls here. They've got a squad just ahead of them on the very, very edges on the north side of map here. See if they might take any kind of fight sometime soon. I will say, just to go back on a quick point here, even if first place seems kind of unobtainable to some at this point, I mean, for teams like Lust, Guess Who, Team Nothing, and many more, we're talking about a disparity that can be obtained in one game to put them in the top 5, and that's where you start prizing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Any one of those positions will be walking home with at least some cash to share here. So still very well possible for a majority of the teams here today to not go home empty-handed.
Nice goals moving in on this squad here. It looks like a pretty favorable scenario for them, especially with that Horizon utility. The Singularity comes out as well. I think they've got 1 down in all of this. They're looking for the second and the third. Shield situation did not look good. Eye moving in. The shield knock, but moves out of there pretty successfully. Gets a couple of pops off from the Eva 8. Another shield cell pop as they look to just continue their assault on this building. Deleting the Seer ultimate to that as well. We can see them. There is 1, there is 2. They're on the inside and they're gone. Well, not gone immediately. I thought they were going to have more than 1 shot there, but the shield is broken. They are downed actually ultimately in the end. Enough damage there done as they look to moving and continue this assault. It's about just not stretching yourself, and they are pretty bomb goes down.
Ooh. Tiana, taking the time to at least get a reset off here, but Renaissance finding that knock could be absolutely detrimental to the force that they've been putting in here. Still, though, pretty Bond Girl outside might be the perfect opportunity for a revive here. Tiana, gotta be careful. Yeah, there it is. A Seer tactical and potentially the follow-through in just a moment.
Nice rotate here. Nice flank from Eye as shots come out. It's from the south of this building. Up they go. It's the Horizon last, and it's the Horizon that's going to fall. There is another couple of shots coming in here. It's the Seer, and Loch Nessies are gone.
Loch Nessies eliminated finally here. Didn't quite get the opportunity to take advantage of when they had the numbers to work with there. Needed to see a level of aggression that would have allowed them to genuinely finish that fight off and carry them forward. They've got 1 game remaining here on Stormpoint to prove themselves. Meanwhile, for Flower Power, a team that we've been hoping to show up all day long, they're starting to find success of their own. Sirens, 1 member down here, taking out likely the only other Newcastle in the lobby.
And Sirens, unfortunately, one of those teams. It's been a very similar story. They've had 1 or 2 good games, but the rest, they've really struggled to make an impression. And with one of their team down already, they are going to be looking at a fearsome twosome for the rest of the lobby. However long they are able to survive here, still 18 squads up. The threat level is at an all-time high as we see Flower Power just retreating back and looking to get some loot. They are purple shields across the board, looking good.
Flower Power here, obviously now with an extra KP. This does put them in the top 5. The difference between 3rd down to 7th is literally 2 points. It's 33, 32, 31, 31, 31, right? So it could be anyone's game in terms of prizing, especially in these last 2. We tune in with Control Freaks. They're on a rotation down towards the south side, looking to clean up what looks to be a late squad here coming out of Fish Farms. They've already found the knock onto Alita Angel. Look to continue this one even further. Trying to see if they can come around the back end of some of these Prowlers' nests and spy out the living rat.
Well, the rats have been found, and they're behind a rock. Not exactly the safest of areas. Mobile Aim. They had a great game 4, didn't they? But this time around, they find themselves in the bottom 5 yet again.
Mobile Aim here. Like I've said before, 1 last game to prove themselves, but it'll have to take place a little bit later on. Control Freaks, though, more than happy to start picking up some KP, a team that doesn't even have a position within that top 10 as of yet.
Nice bit of recon here from the Mummies, who appear to be, well, I guess, unapproached. unabashed. Many different words to use here, but they are on their own and they're given a little bit of time. We jump back in with our Game 4 winners, EOS. A completely different scenario. They are heavily in the ring, and this Exodia is gonna go down because of it. It looks like we are in the midst of a team fight. Miss Exodia falls down the cliff to get the revive off its Stanashi. Are they even going to be able to get a revive? I mean, they're so far away from the ring edge that they might very well drop.
Stanashi got to take full priority in terms of the med kit there, and they might just have to leave Ms. Exodia out to dry. EOS know that they're in a perilous situation as well as one on that leaderboard, right? They just need to continue last to continue to accrue that placement. So for now, they're going to have to fare as a duo.
JSA points leader, and there is more to come with them as they move up the hill and look for more picks. Sirens are gone. I don't believe, or was that? No, that was the squad actually. Oh no, it's not the squad that we were chasing. That was across the other sides of the map. I'm not exactly sure who they are chasing here, but they got to be careful about their health. I mean, JSA are playing this to the limit. They find themselves out of the ring now. They've got one down. They're going to try and pick off the other, but that's a lucky escape.
TT Sammy there taken out. Looks like as well. Not quite the team that we're chasing here, but in that kill feed there. JSA taking the time to heal up. I'm more than sure that they're going to wrap back around here towards Thunderwatch and continue the fight that they started here just moments ago. Once again, we see full impression of the play style of the JSA roster, taking their time, trying to work with the edge as much as possible to pick off these squads who might not be as prepped or as ready for a rotation from this kind of angle. Nice Girls being that squad that was chased down, now going to have to contest.
They got themselves. Oh, did they spot someone there? I don't know was anyone there. I trust these players too implicitly. If they look somewhere with some sort of vision, I'm like, oh wow, they've seen them. But either way, they've got themselves a bit of land to themselves, as is the case for the Roller GFs on the move here. Still 16 squads still left in the lobby, rotating to the southeast, moving up the eastern side of the map. They're going to find the ring pretty nicely as JSA have got some time to recoup, and they did play that to the edge. In taking down most of a squad that we didn't quite catch there, but looking nice and healthy, and plenty of time on their side as well.
JSA maybe going to start making their moves here against this alternative squad set up on top of that roof there. Ava quickly sliding through with the G7 Scout, finds a double tap there, but has to look for more. This still does give the entire JSA roster the opportunity to at least keep complete control over Thunderwatch area now.
It is Nice Girls, and so maybe they did spot a little something. They are the ones on top of this building. JSA look for the pot shots. They find some pot shots. They find a way through the shielding, and they're going to utilize that C utility once again. They're going to try and move on top of the building now. It's a long climb for Avali. Doesn't quite get on it on this occasion. Sabs and Janie on the top shelf, though, looking for the picks. They find the Arc Star. Oh my word! This is an incredible play from Sabs, I should say, and Janie. They complete the KOs, although there is still one of these Nice Girls players up. Is it a yellow shield that's keeping them in? No, it isn't. It's just I who's been able to move on back.
I on her way down the hillside will wrap for now, but in a Seer meta, you don't really get the opportunity. We'll see what happens here, especially as JSA might make their way through. This is not the most optimal place to play through when we start talking about zone rotation here in just a moment, but for KP, they might just do about anything.
Big drop there when you're considering the top 5 conversation. LNW out. They don't even make top 15. Considering how close that point situation is, you really do not want to be going with donuts into game number 6. Still a chance to recover, of course. They'll be hoping for others around them on the points table side of things to basically find as little success as they did. Roller GF, so they have moved up the eastern side of the map. They find themselves in a chokehold scenario, and they have found a squad to try and pick off here. They have themselves a view through the ring, but they've got to be careful because there is another team further up in the chokehold point, the Mummies. Is this JSA that they're going up against potentially?
No. It's come too far. This is actually all the way down here towards the southern side. Another team on the other angle here towards the eastern side. Saw Heroes GF and Mommies, they try to force their way into this building. While they do find double knocks potentially to work with, you have to wonder, the squad from above, a reset potentially on the opposite side of that door, a bit of a break. I mean, if there's someone you want taking a 1v1, it's definitely Gibraltar there. And now with the revive coming through, Mimi's back up, and it is officially 2v1. They find the knock response there onto Wonder. Nikki, PK out and playing. It's now up to Mimi, the mommy, the namesake herself. But, oh, just too late. Can't quite hold off against Control Freaks. And now, with the sounds being heard, the air full of sound, a third party ensues.
And Control Freaks, they've still got a decent potential from this situation. Obviously, there's going to be communication between the three. With one up, you can at least see what's happening as we move over to VSK. We will pick up the Control Freaks storyline at another time. Some good shots here from a charge rifle, I believe, onto Kathleen Streams. We will await the identity of who is attacking VSK. They are lying further up this hill, potentially in that little spherical hut there. They've got themselves a little bit of cover here with the rocks, with the machine there, of course, on the side as well to utilize. So they, although they are further downhill, they do have, well, that advantage is gone. Here comes the third party from behind, and it's Odd, and guess who? And this is going to be a bloodbath.
It's not the worst position for VSK, but I mean, I'd like to see them push themselves more directly into the Cliffside Depot here. I mean, there's no question. In terms of the position you need to be in for this end game, it's got to be Cliffside Depot. And taking a wide rotation out towards the west, albeit necessary due to the pressure from the hillside, I mean, this is as risky as it gets. There are still so many squads that have not made their way in from Stormcatcher that can lay down damage here, and now you're putting yourself on double angles. Meanwhile, JSA facing difficulties of their own. They've already lost Janie as they try to come through from the north side. And now, one more from above. They are trying to get the full thirst there. Sabs looking to defend. Arthur went from the backside. Beams! As Rollers GF are wiped out.
Nice Girl's gone as well. Clutch moment for JSA when they needed it most. Still, they need to get Janie back into the map. Otherwise, they are going to be down to just 2 for the rest of today. EOS is gone. That was our game 4 winners. What an arc star there, as down they go. Snow, VSK, Volk still up, of course, as we have, what was it, 3, 4, 5 squads maybe, all in this congested area. Nice shots from Volk. The shield, the knock. Control Freaks are gone. That storyline has ended.
VSK still having to contest against a few here right up against the cliffside. They need to finish this fight off, especially if they want to make their way into the cliffside depot here. Valk once again with the beam switch to the PK to find the final knock there onto Team Nothing. 7 squads remain. A quick revive coming through there onto Kathleen, but still, there are the zone ahead is the question here. Cliffside Depot is already being split into quarters here as we start talking about Zone 5, KBM, VZH, as well as JSA, all still having to make their way in here one way or the other.
That would be the case, if JSA hasn't been eliminated. They are gone, JSA. They are out. They were just sneakily cut off there. Very quick succession there with the Control Freaks, and so they are not going to be taking part from here on out. KBM were in a great position. They've rotated out. They have lost Mighty Macaroni, but is there going to be getting any past to this? KBM, Cash, they're going to go down. They're going to get, they are going to go down now. I'm surprised that they even got the shield off there. Barry and Bex is going to have the revive off behind these crates, but they find themselves in a super unfavorable position.
Speaking of favorable positions, it's going to be Guess Who coming up from behind, taking advantage potentially of this weakened squad on the boxes. Just have to make their presence known. A quick micro-drone strand gives them all the information they need to follow suit here on the grab lift. Mobile shield down, now the grab lift to give them their spacing that they need. A knock onto Cash, and one more will do them in. Bit of damage is pressured back here as Christina and Belarus are looking low, but now with the knock, they need to get in zone. No grab lift to give them any kind of movement, and as a result, Lust, Guess Who, KBM all eliminated our final 4 squads.
UTFT, they are eyes glistening at this point. One of the chasing pack for first place. Maybe we should be opening up that conversation again, but it's not necessarily about placement now. It's about how many kills have they been able to get across the course of Game 5. Looking at Lupelia, it's not good reading, only 2. You're going to have to hope that Julilax or Lise are going to have more up their sleeve. Top 4, UTFT looking good at least for a top 5 placement come the end of today. The Valkyrie Rockets come out, that one squad in an advantageous position, but open to that sort of fire, especially with the Horizon utility still to use.
I believe that's Flower Power. We see that castle wall set up above that building, that great god spot to work with. It can be only one squad. The question being, where are the rest of the teams here? There are still 2 that are misnomers for me. You can see likely Flower Power putting damage back down on UTFT. They still have to make quite the leap of faith here as they work their way towards that next building. And yes, there are other squads already playing the exterior fence line. They are not alone on their next assault.
And that is going to be the advantage that UTFT hold over the likes of Flower Power. Yes, they're in the best position, but there are multiple squads involved in this final fight. Waiting. They've got themselves a Kraber. That's going to be a shot and a miss. They've only got 3 shots left. They better make them count now. That is another miss. But hey, look, it's going to get real close quarters real soon. Might as well use the distance while you have the advantage from up here.
Once this zone closes in from behind, Flower Power is in an ultimate situation. There's no squad that's going to be able to play through that western side effectively. Now we see, yes, the inevitable teams taking residence directly in the building itself. Notably, Mochi set up, you can see on the other side, likely UTFT forced to come all the way right up against the windows here. Big PK shot through the open spacing. Does Mochi extend themselves? Do they put no effort out? Could be risky.
But one entrance is certainly blocked off now. There's very little room to work with here. It's another nice peeking shot from Toucan. They're rotating out. They're looking for the one-ups and then the one-ups and then the one-ups again. They're going to have to look outside at some point as we get an overall view of how this final circle is going to look. And there on the outside, you can see Snow Red Volk. They're looking really handy, actually, on their own out of this firefight. They're probably going to make top 3 just by the way of odds. But the question is, who's going to come out on top?
Well, Flower Power has the advantage in terms of the high ground, but I'd like to see them make some rotations, clear out the exterior here. They don't want to be in an issue where they take too much damage from the fight between UTFT and Mochi, and as a result, you have VSK cleaning it up from the very edge of that cliffside there. Everyone's still, though, in full force, a complete 3.
If you're JSA, you are praying that VSK gets the win here. The last people that they want to get a win at this point in the competition is Flower Power or USFT. That will realistically be the last major threat, the last major denial opportunity. As you can see, Mist OP taking a little look over. They're going to move around, and now it's going to be all hell for leather. UTFT, they lose 1 already. VSK on the other side of this wall looking really good, actually. They've got that natural barrier between themselves and everyone else. Flower Power biding their time. Out comes Kalia, out comes Samurai Sky, out comes Toucan. As UTFT, they bide their time, they wait. There's going to be some Valkyrie shots, though. That's going to pick off a little bit of the shielding for both. Oh, they got the revival from Lupelia as well. That's a massive revive, but how much is it going to impact the later game? It is such a late waiting game at that as well.
Here it
they're
comes.
Gonna get into the ring. Oh my word,
There
the
it is.
Valkyrie flies away, and now it's about VSK.
That's
Are they
Castle
going to be
Wall.
able to survive? It's a castle wall as well. It's Mochi is moving down. Toucan is down. Mochi down to 2. Here's another one. Flower Power's gone. That's one of the big ones. That's one of the big names. JSA breathes a sigh of relief for now. What about UTFT? Mochi, it's another down. Excellent shots coming through from Samurai Sky. On the other side of the wall is this VSK. Back into the ring. Out of the ring. It's going to be VSK. It's going to be UTFT. It's going to be one of these. VSK's down. Mochi, they've only got 50% health of Kalia. UTFT, the last major threats to JSA.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's start breaking that one down. UTFT, your victors in our Game 5, but I'll tell you what, that was a rough rough position to play out of there. And you have to give credit where it is due, of course, towards VSK, but it couldn't have been anything without Flower Power making such a dominant and aggressive move towards the outside. You saw that castle wall extended there towards the opposite end. That means two members of Flower Power had put themselves on the exterior to give them angles. And who did they focus immediately? VSK. Immediately right there, you have those two squads taking damage towards each other. Mochi is biding their time there, looking to come in and slowly clean this one up. But during the entire excursion, they're allowing UTFT to move into a position in that split second and have a dominant area to play with. Mochi's brought down a single member. UTFT finish the job, clean this one up, and take away the only I guess this is a newly signed roster. I believe this is the first victory that the UFT women's squad has seen.
And what a victory that as well. And in that preluding sort of just almost like a Wild West shootout, everyone waiting to draw their guns, in that calm, in that quiet, UTFT able to get the revive up. I said at the time, is that going to be the difference maker? It was the difference maker in the end. And it just goes to show that, yes, some passiveness is good and nobody wants to bite the bullet, so to speak, and engage as Flower Power and VSK did, as Mochi did. But it's an aggressive meta. We've already covered this before in great detail. And sometimes it pays just to recognize, okay, well, this squad, we know one of them's gone down. We heard them go down. And so maybe it's worth relocating. Could Flower Power have play that any differently though, because they definitely had the advantage going into it?
It's tough to say there. You had to hope. If I was Flower Power, you have that high ground advantage, but in terms of movement, you have the Newcastle kind of reposition composition that we saw at the very, very last moment. Potentially that could have been utilized a little bit sooner, albeit riskier. It would have potentially put them in a position where they were the only squad on the outside instead of VSK being that kind of competitor there that we saw in the end. That's the only thing I can particularly think of, and even that isn't particularly sure.
One thing that has become more and more sure throughout the course of tonight, though, as if we weren't sure from game number one, is that JSA look odds on to take the victory. UTFT with those 19 points, it brings them up to 50. Had JSA non-scored, UTFT still would have been 18 points behind. Wow. The gap is now 26 because of JSA's 8 points from game number 5. It seems nigh on impossible for any sort of scenario to overcome their dominance. But we'll have to wait and see, right? It's the beauty of Apex. There's one more map left. It's Storm Point. It's game 6. We want to see you there after this. And so it all ends up here, doesn't it? Game 6 of the Seoul League finals here in the Celestial Cup. Relic, Zephyr, we got Etsky on production, and folks, JSA are looking pretty good as things stand. As things stand, Zephyr, they could probably walk away pointless from game number 6 and still find themselves the winners of today.
Yeah. UTFT here would have to assume a 27-point game alongside JSA, literally floundering in their performance here with 0 points accumulated. Any more, the bar would just be too far to assume. But that doesn't mean the journey is over for many of these teams. For squads like ARC, LNW, Mochi, Lust, guess who? One good game could put them in the top 5 where we see the majority of our line share or where the prizing exists. And of course, for teams like UTFT, of course, those alongside them, EOS, Flower Power, Rollers GFs. I mean, they're still tossing it back and forth between what is going to be that prize split.
It's not exactly chump change either. Even if you place 5th, you're getting yourself $180 for your entire team. It's not bad at all. It goes up to 240, 300, 420 before first place goes home with that $540 top prize. Of course, you still got the Kills MVP award. $50 on the line for that. And well, Avali, well, they managed to take the lead briefly, but Sab's back on top with a 3-kill margin. Looking pretty good for them. It looks like JSA might very well lock out the top 3 as well. Maybe they'll just all enjoy a nice dinner together. I'm not sure. The $50 could probably get you some part of the way there. But for the likes of Lupelia, Odd, Scarlet's Envy, exceptional games, they might be able to overhaul the difference.
Well, we'll see if they can find success here. Looking at the overall team standing, we might be seeing, no, we will see a 20,000 damage finish here for JSA after all is said and done. But the halfway point for a few of our squads, EOS, Flower Power, and of course, the newly now signed UTFT roster, not too far away in terms of a competitive experience in comparison.
And the competitive experience, I think, just a wider shout out for Celestial Cup in general is one of the great things that we're bringing to women's Apex as a scene. I think there's a lot of blowback sometimes about why do we need, you know, these women's exclusive leagues, and the answer is because we need these leagues to give these players the opportunity to play and to enjoy themselves and to learn many more techniques. I mean, look at JSA. They are absolutely cracked. I'm sure everyone watching today can agree with that sentiment. And the reason why is because they've had this platform to showcase themselves. And it would not surprise me to see them continuing to make strides. So a shout out to everyone behind the scenes, really, at Celestial Cup. It's a wonderful organization. You're all here at the very beginning of a journey, which we hope has many years in it, but of course today has only maybe 30-40 minutes left on the docket, because we only have one more game. That is going to be Storm Point, of course. Game number 6. JSA, are they going to be cruising through? Are they going to be making their way to the top with a final dominant performance? Will we see another winner take to the top step? And who is going to place inside the top 5? All the questions to be answered within the next 30 minutes or so. Zephyr, I am excited to get things underway.
I'll do my best here to keep track for all of you at home, especially regarding those teams that sit right on the cusp here within that kind of top 5 prizing. Obviously, watch out for names like Flower Power, Rollers GF, ARC, LNW, Mochi, Lust, and of course, guess who? And even some of our lower entities outside of the top 10 even still have an opportunity with one really good game push their way into the top 5.
So we have seen generally a lot of folks heading southeast. It seems a little more even spread this time around as we begin our journey into Game 6 with VSK and with Lust. An early engage here for Lust as well. They've already got some blue shielding. They really do need this. And more importantly, they don't need to lose this. That is the last thing that they want on their minds. And so Brave, certainly, will it pay off? Already got a shield lock, already hitting flesh. They move up and they move down again. They've got a knock here, Lust. Renee, lovely placement, lovely slide. Kino's Kittens eliminated. Perfect start for Lust.
Lust here with 3 KP to work with already sets them to tie towards 7th. Better performance yet would allow them hopefully to close the itsy bitsy gap that lays before them, but we need to see these other squads in their own success potentially as well here for Lust. Now they get the lion's share, of course, of the entire Mills POI. We'll see if they carry themselves directly towards the center, out towards the north side,
Close
Barometer, Jurassic Park, or maybe even back towards the west. Maybe we might see, with backs up against the wall, these teams start to play a bit more edge-oriented, looking for KP.
KBM here, taking down some Spectres. Just doing their looting, just doing their best here as they have already had a bit of health chip. Mobile aim, of course, one of the whipping squads, unfortunately, for the majority of today. They will look back on Game 4 with a lot of, I think, rosiness, especially getting top 5. It was one of their better results. They got themselves an engage here as well. They can see, so I'm presuming this is the same squad actually on the inside here of the IBC Armory. And it's just a waiting game at this point, just a waiting game. They're waiting for that moment where they step out and where they can get some picks, but they do not have the shield advantage moving into this engage. They only have the height advantage, and Mobile Aim has not done well in team fights historically today.
No, and the big question here is obviously, what do they have to dissuade the pressure and delay what will be the escape outside of this IMC Armory? Obviously, grab lift down, that's going to at least kind of stop them from getting the launch pad to work with, but past that, we don't exactly know. Obviously, Ordnance is going to be coming into major effect here in just a moment, but for now, we tune in with Mochi outside towards the wall. It looks like they're starting a fight of their own, a team on the interior of this high ground, which can be very crucial when we start talking about end game positions, especially if they pull to this area directly. Looks like a good micro drone scan. This is going to give them the opportunity to aggress.
Mochi, some 6 points behind Fifth at the moment. Some KP would be much obliged at this stage. They're getting some nice shots here. No particular shield pops to talk of yet, but they do have the advantage of effectively holding up this team. They can't overcommit, of course, and they do have form on their side. They did make top 5 last time out. Some pot shots, finally a shield break on the horizon. Mochi continue to move in. They got that PK, a whiff and a miss, a whiff and a miss. Just biding their time now as they wait to sucker in someone, anyone of this squad. They move in finally through Kayla. That's a lot of shots onto the shield. Moving in further. That is a knock, a full knock. And down goes Mr. Deal.
Mochi here, able to find at least the one in full thirst. They have to let the rest of that squad go. Oh, looks like a responsive habitat thrown down here from the enemy. This will give them the information that they need potentially to either get banners back, get a better position, or look for angles that will give them an advantage. But Mochi grab lift out through the back door here, able to find the initial knocks there. Giggle Autumn down in full, and one last remaining member for them to search for. It looks like once again, another enemy habitat. I believe this might be the third.
Guess who are gone? They were just inside the top 10. They will not be pressing forward to the top 5. UTFT, though, they are starting to move up the hill now. This is a huge engage for both Mochi and UTFT. UTFT especially, they're realistically the only team that can get within striking distance of JSA, but you've got to say again, that is possibly impossible heading into game number 6. The Valkyrie Rockets come out. Mochi looking pretty good. That is a down on Princess, and this is a third squad. Flower Power's gone.
Yes.
Flower Power 4th in the standings. They are looking nervously over their shoulders.
Flower Power now with 39 points only to work with here, are at the head of anyone else. Meanwhile, UTFT looking to make short work of Mochi. They might have picked up some KP, but it's definitely not enough to breach that top 5. UTFT able to find double breaks here, but a little bit of the cover on these doors potentially gives Toucan and the rest of the squad the opportunity to get their health back up. UTFT haven't quite found the angle just yet.
And they've not exactly found the time either. Finally, a bit of a reprieve. They prioritize shielding. Now Samurai Sky with that med kit, things are looking a little bit better. Yeah, I do not blame UTFT for biding their time either. They do not have to press in as aggressively as others might expect. You can still see them there on the top of the building. Tipper-tapper. And yeah, they really do not need to move from here. They can just wait it out and wait it out. They're still inside the ring. It's going to be boring for the average viewer, but I tell you what, for UTFT, the more points, the merrier.
I mean, this is the spot you need to be in. I mean, we haven't talked about the zone yet, but in terms of pull, I mean, this is the best place in terms of this hillside. Everything down towards your south is complete low ground, and I mean, at any good point here in terms of the wall, bit less to work with. For UTFT, though, I think they evaluate that there's just a little bit too much heat here at this current area, and so they opt to play for the western end. And obviously, as a squad that knows that they need to be looking for KP, playing back towards the edge is pretty much necessary at this point. You need to be looking for squads before they get the opportunity to fall at the hands of, say, who knows, JSA.
Which we haven't yet seen in game number 6. And I promise you we will come to them eventually because, hey, we always do. VSK taking pot shots here. They're looking across the way. Hard to make out who is across the way. But what I can tell you is that another of the top 5 Roller GFs is gone before hitting top 15. And they're even closer to falling out the top 5 than Flower Power.
Now for teams like ARC, LNW, Mochi, they have a massive opportunity to surpass the points that had been accumulated by these squads over our last 5 games. They are nowhere close to safe as it currently stands. VSK still taking their time. Nothing here. They did find pot shots, but not more to follow. The bigger question is, what's their next rotation look like? Obviously, they've got that redeploy available, but I'd be curious if they take any squads.
LNW, they're looking at Roller GF, they're looking at Flower Power, both eliminated, and they're thinking, oh, there is prize money up for grabs here. Currently sitting 3 points behind Roller GF. They do not want to leave these things to count back in any sense of the word. Nice goals, lovely relocation. Oh, Angie didn't even know what hit her. Neither did Ashki. Beautiful double bit from Pretty Bond Girl. It's not exactly 007 kills, but 003 is pretty great.
Nice girls here taking advantage of that high ground position. Make short work of what little defense you can work with on a Newcastle. Meanwhile, inside, Chalice absolutely obliterated there. 1 PK shot. Pretty Bond Girl picking up all 3 of those kills.
I called the 003 a little bit early, but I'm glad to see that she followed through with it, to be honest. Still came true, and kill leader at that as well. Nice girls. They currently sit outside of the top 10, so the more points, the merrier. Still a bit of a long shot to try and get inside of that top 5, but hey, finish strong, look towards Split 2, and we will be talking plenty about Split 2 at the end of game number 6, but until then, Nice Girls looking great. LNW not looking so great. They've engaged. They're finding a Valkyrie across the way, and LNW, they've got a prime opportunity to score some money. They don't want to squander it.
No, this is the perfect opportunity for them. They need to pick up some KP. This is the perfect time to do so, especially with these teams forced to fight on the backside of the wall area. LNW, if they go down here, it's likely that they do not push their way into that top 5, even with the death of teams like Rollers and Flower Power ahead of them.
Loch Nessie's drop. LNW wary of that third party to the sort of eastern side of where they currently reside. They're probably looking for the rotation out, and the rotation out is what they're going to get on board with ARC now. And these are the this is another, so this is the squad across the way. Of course, we had that third party up on the rock edge. We joined JSA, but a quick word on ARC. Of course, only 1 point behind Roller GF. They might have already picked up picks. JSA, it looks like they're going to be picking up picks of their own. Oh, in mid-air, it's brutal with the Mastiff. Is there another? Oh, got a little too close for comfort. And Lust drop as well. They were 9th place. They are not going to be heading any further. They've already picked up 3 kills. Janie, they really are looking to go out with a bang.
Janie looking to contest potentially for that MVP slot at the very end. Sabs and Ava not too far ahead, so with those triple Mastiff kills, still stays competitive. If you're UTFT, you're sweating now. You're starting to see some knocks, or well, technically it's anonymous vote. Never mind, they don't know. We have the dramatic irony. UTFT are ethereally sweating. They've got like ghost feeling somewhere.
But you know what? I don't mind if they ghost throughout the match, honestly, because consider this. If they hit top 2, top 3, they're still picking up 9, 8 placement points, which truthfully might be enough to just confirm them 2nd place.
All right. I mean, they've set themselves up as a happy place to hold. It looks like our zone more directly pulling towards the wall POI, so expect teams to start to take position towards one of the 4 buildings, or likely 3 in that bottom corner, like a bit of an L there. I will say, this is going to be highly dependent on the poll in terms of what position is best. As for the rest of these teams, though, not quite even in the next zone ahead. Mommies and many others competing outside of Cascade Falls.
See the Horizon utility here, Mummies. Oh, that's a lot of damage, and 2 are down. It's a torrent of firepower, and Miss Exodia is taken down in all of that, but Mummies could not face up to the pressure.
Meanwhile, Nice Girls on the interior here of the command center. Looks like they've got a squad ahead. There's not many exits out from this position, especially with the zone ticking away. They only have moments to decide here, especially if they're going to use something like Luciana's redeploy on this Valkyrie, but it looks like they've opted to fight, take damage, and to find success. Player back up against the wall there. The ordinances do not hit, and it allows them to regroup with the team, and now likely that squad to run and run.
And look, if you go outside the top 10 as Nice Girls are, maybe just worth playing fast and loose. Placement points aren't going to do you any good at this stage. Might as well go hell for leather. Nice Girls with the rotation out. Nice play, looking for the re-engage as they move around the building here. They're not going to find the re-engage just yet. Are they still inside the building, or have they rotated out already? The chase is on. They see fire. They see bullets. They see missiles raining down. Luciana a little bit caught out here. The Seer ultimate coming through. They see themselves someone going down. The question is who? A nice shield pop here from Pretty Bond Girl, who continues to rain fire upon all who step into her path. This is a really nice engage, a really lovely redeploy from Nice Girls. Not even using their Valkyrie ultimate, but here comes third party. Lovely just readjustment and shield pop coming through from Pretty Bond Girl as Mobile Aim is eliminated. We're into the top 10.
Control Freaks follow suit very quickly as well. You gotta give credit to I there, still playing the high ground outside of Command Center, giving Nice Girls that information that pays as they are allowed to pull back and not get third party. Now knowing that their backside is completely clean, they now get to assess the damage ahead of them here. Luciana, foot forward here, looking into the crack ahead, still taking quite a bit of shots from afar, but still finding the knock on Team Nothing.
A moment, well, there was a singular moment, a second before shots started throwing themselves at Pretty Bond Girl, and they relocate back into VSK down the hill. A point certainly that I would like. Oh, what a knock there from Snow Red, switching over to the R301, getting more damage off on another shield. Some responsive shots, but it's I who was down. Almost the full KO on this one as well. Nice Girls, they've done really well considering the position they were in. Lovely PK shot. Oh, it's a great knock, but Pretty Bond Girl doesn't survive for long. Luciana surely going to follow suit. She has run away, but she will run away no longer. Nice Girls drop. They're the 8 squads remaining.
Looks like Mochi picking up the majority of those kills, but not from too far away. You also have VSK with, I believe, what was that charge rifle you can see on the western side of the map. Gets one as well. Still, though, 20 seconds to go. Storm, or my apologies, Zone is starting to move in here for teams that still reside in some of those southern buildings or that high ground we've been talking about all game long. It is finally a moment to move. UTFT, they're just a click away. They've been holding this position a good spot, especially in terms of this next movement as they're going to start setting up directly on the wall ahead.
There is a squad moving up the hill here, and they do find themselves in a bit of a tricky situation on Repelia. That was a bit straight to face. Shielding was there. Blocked most of the shot. Liz takes a lot there as well. Up they go, but they are down. Great shots on Liz. And UTFT, well, they've held this position well, but with multiple squads potentially engaging here, could find themselves in a tricky situation. Repelia again, the shield is locked. Great engage, and down they go, and wouldn't you know it, it's JSA on the hunt. Julie Lax, they're almost gone as well. Oh, it's a horror story. It's a nightmare. UTFT drop, courtesy of JSA. Surely the winners now.
Actually, that was EOS. Anyways, EOS. JSA on the interior here. Now going to likely gatekeep EOS, who just found their success. Remember, they're now damaged, but just a click away. Thankfully for them, they've got a Horizon. One quick grav lift over this wall sets themselves up on the high ground necessary to at least eclipse from a different angle, or at least try to gate from one of these other sides. You don't have to take it directly up against the beast themselves. Mochi, on the other hand, they want all the KP they can get. They start to make their way outside. They've got an ordnance down, Fletch to be found, Standard Shy eliminated. It's just Odd left to survive here on the exterior of the wall. My God, where did she go?
JSA with some hot shots on that as well, and this time it was JSA, and oh my God. Samurai Sky caught napping. There's Toucan. They got a lot of shield, but they don't have the placement. Finally gets the PK blast. EOS eliminated. We're into the top 4. Mochi lucky to survive that one.
I'm surprised that JSA didn't make their way outside at all after hearing the damage that had been done. They allow Mochi to get the full revive off. But let's start talking about this zone here. It's going to pull directly towards the bottom southeastern building itself, or at least allow that one to be in play. And JSA have opted to take for the other side here on the west. It's one of the few positions that they can work with in terms of cover. Have to wonder where this third squad is. Obviously, there's going to be one on the building ahead as well as here. Maybe a double stack. We get a few, occasionally a tiered cake, as I like to call it, where several squads set up in one building, but no. It's that late rotation in there. Redeploy to be found.
Might be Mochi actually, looking at
it might
the
be
area
Mochi.
where they've relocated from. There across the way, we see another of the teams. JSA, one of the better locations, of course, going into this one. They have to move in eventually, though, as the ring dictates. JSA, some shield pops here for Avali as they spread out quite thin, honestly, looking, searching for those picks. Nice rotation from this squad on the lower level, actually, utilizing those columns, but that is going to be a down, surely, as Kyler and Toucan, oh, they're going to be completely blown away by LNW. Vendetta with a pick. There goes full focus on Kyler. Oh, nice dicer as well, and Mochi, they make top 4, but no further.
Yeah, now it's just down to 3. One last staying rat. Arc eliminated as well. 6th place. They might have accrued enough points from placement alone to push their way into the top 5. LNW across now from the monsters that are JSA. LNW, they have the high ground. They have the building to work with for now. All they need to do is find some damage, find a bit of a pick, find it before the zone forces them to take the direct 3v3, because I think we both can agree, in the hands of a situation where you're going toe-to-toe against JSA, it's 90-10, baby. It's 99-1. You barely win those.
The placement points alone for LNW, plus the KP that they've accrued already, might very well have taken them into the top 5. Now it's how far into the top 5 can you go realistically with EOS, with UTFT both doing well in game number 6. 4th, 5th, it's a battle between them and Mochi and Arc. It is anybody's guess as to who is going to win out of that one. Mochi, the furthest back with the most to do. It is a full mano el mano sort of situation, or I guess it's a womano el womano if you take my meaning. Across the way, full focus moves over to this left box. We see Janie on the lower floor, certainly the most out of place. And that out of placement is going to eventually lead to a shield knock. No full knock, though, for Janie as she gets back into cover. The shield refresh is going to come through. The same for full focus. Early shots exchange, but the ring's closing in.
I have to look at that poll in just a second here to see who has cover. You can see Ava taking a bit of the pillar to work with there, maybe to potentially find some angles that give her the damage they need onto LNW. But this is continuing to just break apart for both of these rosters. They have little cover to work with here and only moments to go at a certain point. I mean, it's literally just going to be face first, 3v3, right out in the open, playing with anything can work with. Oh, Sabs there to start this one off with the singularity back, but it's quickly broken. Janie from the low ground, jetpacks up here from behind. Mastiff in hand, looking for damage, able to find some, but it's not for Sabs. Finds the initial knock there, and the rest to follow suit. JSA, they start your day with a win, and they finish it as well.
Welcome, perhaps unsurprisingly, to your Soul League Split 1 champions, JSA. Just say amazing. That is a fantastic performance from all 3 of those players. LNW picking up 15 points, Mochi picking up 15 points, Arc picking up 7. So Arc with 8 under Mochi. I think that means that Mochi do indeed slip into the top 5.
Oh, we'll have to see here in just a moment. To remind y'all, it was JSA, UTFT, EOS, Flower Power, and Rollers GFs the last time we checked in with our overall leaderboard. Of course, now it could be anyone's game here, especially with both EOS, LNW, ARC, and everyone who is just a click away also showing up as well here. I mean, it's tough, but that's what you get when you split the prize pool between five.
Yeah, and to be fair, we've got the potential MVP prize being split between three
Oh, yeah.
players.
Who knows?
I'd want to wager, I think, just on the basis of like kill feed, like acclimatization. I think that looking at Sabs, that name
I think it's
was
Sabs.
appearing a lot, right? And so obviously we will wait and see. We give our wonderful points counters the chance to count those points, to put it in the table in a nice and clinical way, and that clinicalness definitely extends to the efficiency of our team. As here we have the final scores on the doors. JSA walking out with almost 100 points. And look at that damage at the end of the day. You said surely 20,000. How about almost 23,000? Ridiculous numbers being put up by these three incredible women. EOS there taking second ahead of UTFT by a singular point. That's gotta hurt. LNW and Mochi forcing their way into the top five. Flower Power and Roller GS falling out at the death. Of course, no one goes home pointless. Today, Kino's Kittens, yep, you only got two, but hey, at least you got two. We have had a couple of weeks where it's looked real dicey for a couple of teams. But honestly, congratulations to everyone who played today. What a fantastic series of Apex Legends. Long live the Celestial Cup.
Whoa, okay, all right. The righteous Celestial Cup, long live in its potential righteous glory here as it continues to hopefully provide for all the female competitors here in the Apex scene. I am interested, though, to see exactly how things turned out regarding our MVP. And it looks like you're right. Sabs just 2 ahead of Janie there. She picked up that Mastiff in the end in game 6, and she started putting work down where it counted, potentially even in that last fight. Had she made that kind of wide sweeping rotation with the Valkyrie, found those hits almost immediately, we would have been talking about Janie walking with MVP. But it's hide nor hair. The top 3 is all JSA there. I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Really, I feel at this point we've got to give a commiseratory best of the rest award to Odd, who's been able to put up 14 kills, which in the grand scheme of things is actually a pretty great number to come away with at the end of a day. It was just simply a case of JSA too strong, 63 kills. That is almost a full 40 ahead of their next competitors.
That's crazy. Just absolutely absurd there. I will say EOS, UTFT showing up, of course, now newly signed there. I'm very surprised to see them have performance of their own. Things like EOS, Flower Power, Mochi have seen success in some of our earlier weeks here, but they were a welcomed surprise here. And I know Jack, who's probably in chat, is very happy that his new roster is doing well.
Yeah, and just a great congratulations to everyone behind the scenes as well. Of course, this was the first split of the Seoul League, and there is a lot of people to thank, but we should definitely have a big shout out to Yusaki, who has really just led from the front on all fronts, and she has brought together a team that is quite frankly fantastic, and it is a pleasure to bring this particular scene to you. Women's Apex is here, and it is here to stay. Of course, all of the pretty pictures were brought to you over the entirety of the first split by Etsuki. The broadcast looks great, doesn't it? Well, you have him amongst many, really many others to thank. It looks incredible considering that this is our first split, but what's that I hear? A first split implies the existence of a second split. Well, hey, guess what? You're right. And signups open this week. Should all things go according to plan. Week 1 of Split 2, it kicks off October 11th. So, Zephyr, we do not have long to wait.
No, we'll be back here once again representing all of you lovely competitors as you continue to improve and continue to compete here in the Celestial Cup and hopefully take that experience further, because that's what this is all about.
And that's all she wrote, folks. It has been a wonderful time. I hope that you've enjoyed yourselves. Again, be sure to join the Discord. Follow us on Twitter at Celestial Cup. Be sure to follow here for whenever we go live in the future. He's been Zephyr, and I've just been Relic. And from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.